Okay, we're started. All right, the audio's going. Hi, welcome to What's Up.
Yay.
All right, everything's functional.
Things are going
Cool, there we
smooth.
go.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Welcome to What's Up. And what is up, gamer people? We are here in our t-shirts and blazers. No, why the hell would I be wearing a blazer? I think I can say hell in the first 30 seconds. That's a very mild swear.
Yeah.
Why would we be wearing blazers and t-shirts to do our show?
I don't know.
At least until the camera comes out.
Like, I don't know. I don't even think even if I went to it, I'd still be probably either graphic tee or I'd probably be in some sort of, plaid flannel type thing. I like repping my.
Oh, I would absolutely. I would budget graphic tees. I would be like, I need a sick graphic tee to wear to E3 and some cargo pants.
Be careful about
Pockets,
those
not pockets.
Be careful about cargo pants. Apparently, I don't know why, but they have a bad reputation. I don't know why. I don't understand why people are not overjoyed about a plethora of pockets, but apparently.
Yeah, I'm about to say I don't get it. It's just storage. Like, first, especially guys, you don't understand. Women will kill for pockets. Like.
Oh, maybe that's why they don't like them, is because we have so many pockets on our cargo pants. When they get something, they don't have any. Clearly, this is a sense of jealousy.
Yeah, pockets are life.
Yeah, no, trust me.
It's not just because of our RPG gamer habits to cover ourselves in belts and pouches. In real life, that's good too.
Thanks, Nomura.
As I often bemoan not having enough pockets or not having the right kind of pockets for my phone or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and it's also I don't know why people think pocket tees are dorky if they do anymore. Because like, no, dude, if you can tuck your phone in your front pocket, that's great. Maybe now that we have phones, it's not dorky.
No, I still can't do that because if I bend over, that fucking phone's flying out of that pocket.
That's true. You got to be careful, or you have to have a big fat phone. But this is why Omega has never owned a phone that doesn't get a case right away, because that's how that happens.
Yeah, no. At work last week, I accidentally dropped the work phone I had, and guess what? There's cracks all over it. I've had that phone for like a month. Guess what? My current phone I've had for like 2 years. I got a case like day one. It is pristine. Well, I say pristine, but
it's better than your uncased phone that hit the floor.
Yes.
No, interestingly enough, this is a little bit of a weird topic to segue into immediately, but we are talking about phones. I have actually seen that apparently a right to repair bill has entered into the U.S. government, which will, if allowed, will ensure that people are able to repair their own devices.
Interesting.
Because that is a thing that you can't crack open your own phone without voiding warranty on a lot of products, and there have been controversies. I believe what started the press for this law was there was an incident where a woman had to send her phone into an Apple store, and the Apple store employees got her nudes off her phone and uploaded them to her own Facebook, and she sued, and Apple settled out of court because of course they did.
Yeah, no, there's no way they're winning that one. But yeah, no, like honestly, when they say the right to repair, Apple was immediately my first thought, because they are very stingy.
They have an ecosystem, and it's always why I've never liked using Apple products a lot. Because they have an ecosystem and they want you to stay in it.
Yeah.
Also, listen, I've heard people say that adult entertainment is a source of credit card chargebacks and nonsense. That has nothing to do with Apple and Apple Pay. Like I do actually believe that some of the executives behind companies like Apple and PayPal are actually, well, not necessarily conservative or not sex positive.
Yeah.
I know everybody says, "Oh no, there's like a legitimate problem with credit card chargebacks."
It's like, no.
Yeah, but also that's not why you have those cutbacks. Like, it's like the great Tumblr slaughter. They had a slight legitimate problem with some communities that were on their website, and they had to cut all adult content on because otherwise Apple would cut them out of their ecosystem.
And that's no good.
Which is why that suit that's still, I believe, still ongoing, because I haven't heard anything about it resolving between Epic and Apple is very interesting, because it's challenging whether or not Apple does truly have a monopoly on the App Store. It's very, very interesting times we live in, and what we can get people to agree on, apparently.
Yeah, honestly, well, I'll use this in the segue into E3. That's something definitely I have been seeing people go absolutely everywhere and ape shit over of who had the best presser and who quote unquote saved E3.
Well, so the saved E3 always comes up because E3. I gotta be real. I don't think E3 should exist. Like, I get why it exists. They should just whoever puts money into the concept of E3 are clearly have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They should stop,
Like
sell the rights or whatever. Because like the 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 idea of like this year of having an all digital event where everybody can set their own pressers and stuff, that sounds really cool. Most companies who blocked out time did not know how to do really good online pressers, and they feel like they were like pressured by shareholders or something. It's such a so many of them were so weird, right? Which is why I think the saved E3 jokes come back, because we had some great high points, we had some really weird low points.
Yeah.
I think the first we can go in order of the pressers. The first quote unquote save was Xbox Bethesda, because as predicted, it was a wealth of guys on stage. You know, Pete Hines, Todd Howard. God, I forgot the Xbox guy's name again. I can picture him, but I forgot him.
What are names even?
I remembered Pete Hines and Todd Howard this time, but you know, the Xbox head. You know him, I know him. I just can't say his name right now because I'm awful.
Phil Spencer.
Phil Spencer, yeah. They were on screen. More people are on screen from other teams, and they were just on stage for 5 seconds in a socially distanced manner to tell you about a trailer and go home.
Bye.
And they showed a lot of trailers.
Yeah, they did.
They started with Starfield, which I believe the trailer was leaked, but they started with the announcement. They did. They had a date, which I was a little surprised by. It will come out 11/11/22, which is like 11 or 10 years full after Skyrim. Is it the full 10?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's a significant date for them, and they did announce that unfortunately it will be console exclusive to Xbox. So there will be no PlayStation and also presumably no Switch release of Starfield. So you got to get it on your PCs. Which that announcement combined with, and they didn't really have anything to show with Starfield other than the vague art style direction.
That makes me think of the Outer Worlds trailer.
Yeah, no, Outer Worlds, which did debut because Obsidian is also in that oeuvre. They had a great trailer that I loved because they don't have a date. But that was way later in the show, so we'll come back to that.
This is what I'm talking about. They're like, Nintendo hard carried. Hard carried what?
Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo carried. They certainly had the best presser, and they certainly, like, brought people's attention back after a couple of days of not a lot of shit. But I gotta be real, Nintendo doesn't need E3.
No.
Nintendo would have done this. They do this anyway.
Yeah.
They do this outside of E3. We would have absolutely just had a June Direct and Treehouse. They don't give a fuck. They're always good at these. Like, they know exactly what they're doing when they do a Nintendo
Honestly,
Direct.
I think Nintendo's probably been doing this the longest, so they have their fucking formula.
Yeah, they're the ones who I think cut ties with E3 first, and then Sony was like, oh, we can do that. And to be fair, state of plays are usually good. They know what their direction is. They're focused. I'm just a little sad that they don't have one. There's got to be one later this month or next month, though. There's no way, right?
Yeah.
That Sony's going to let Xbox and Nintendo throw these out there, you know, unresponded to. Like, I don't think we're in a fight or anything. And in terms of console sales and performance, PS5 does appear to be the winner in terms of the hardware. More people are buying them where available. They are making them more profit, and they are responding better. Not that they're like every performance number is better in the PS5, but what the PS5 performs better at is apparently people are receiving better. That's what I've heard from, you know, they've been out like 6 months now, so a lot of reporting. So there's that. And I said this before. I also think PlayStation, Sony, they're playing everything close to the vest until they solve the semiconductor shortage, because they are literally complaining. You know, they've got directors and executives being sad that they can't put more PS5s in the hands of consumers, because let's be real, they want them in the hands of consumers because that puts you in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Go back to our Apple thing. They don't actually want scalpers to sell them, because scalpers will throw them in the back of a SUV and not sell and not play them. That's not how they make more money.
No.
Plus, the scalp price, they don't make any of that profit either. It's just not good for them. So they're waiting for the semiconductor shortage to end, which could happen. I do know that our current American government is interested with a lot of other European companies in shoring up the tech sector because China's really been taking a bite out of that, which would include more incentives for semiconductor mining and production in the States.
Yeah, no, it's actually, what was it called? The technology and something initiative.
Yeah,
They, yeah,
so
yeah.
the government's decided that we need to get involved in shoring up tech. I also believe they're trying to improve internet connectivity. There's been some new like interactive maps because yeah, America's internet infrastructure is very bad. It's been bad for a long time, just nobody realizes it. Because most of the people who talk on the internet live in like, one of a dozen cities. But yeah, that aside though, like I said, I think that Sony's holding their guns. Like they're not going to announce a Game Pass tier service until they have enough people on the PS5 anyway. There's no reason for them to go ham. Whereas Xbox is kind of on the back foot. They got to go a little hard. But so Starfield is an exclusive. The art style is out there. There was some like interviews and stuff they talked about. I think they said that the story design will be roughly similar to Skyrim. So I assume that means that there will be some kind of vague, threatening, world-ending big meta plot that you will ignore for 60 hours and go build a space house.
I hope I get to build a space house, and I hope I get to build a spaceship.
I mean, if they're saying the game design is like Skyrim, at the very least that will be DLC, if not full-blown in the game to start. They know what the fuck they're doing.
They better.
They've sold Skyrim so many times. They did say that like it will be mostly hard sci-fi leaning, but obviously with some slight differences. They talked about lasers and like sounds in hard vacuum, laser beam weapons and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
The usual sci-fi stuff. Probably to compare to the fact that Obsidian announced Outer Worlds 2 later, probably a little bit more grounded and less tongue-in-cheek than Outer Worlds,
Yeah.
But definitely not like super hard literal sci-fi. Seems cool. This combined with the what they showed of Halo Infinite, including some multiplayer stuff, but also some decent footage of the actual story mode, including that we've got a new baby Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
She wears a uniform now. She's not naked anymore.
Also, a bit sassy.
Well, yeah. They kept the same voice actress and rough facial structure, so I assume she's an AI made off a similar basis to Cortana, so it makes sense that she retains some of the Cortana sassiness.
She's a fork.
Probably. There's a lot of deep AI lore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm actually quite interested. So all this has said to me is that probably by late next year, I need to once again upgrade my computer. I probably just need to put new guts in it.
Guts.
Put an actual GPU in here, upgrade the RAM. That'll probably be fine because it's got a decent amount of juice and storage space as is. I also expect, knowing the way Bethesda is releasing games, while I'm sure they will try and do a decent amount of graphical package with Starfield, they love to do the lowest common denominator thing. They love to make a game that you can play on potatoes as well.
Well, that's like I said, lowest common denominator. If you basically
they will give you your God rays and your ray tracing, but they will also give you potato faces you can run on a laptop. So hopefully I can do that. If not, I can always budget out an actual gaming machine. I've got a year and a half to prep. I've considered whether or not that means I should just bite the bullet and buy an Xbox, but I don't actually know if that's more economical because that means more services, more tech in my entertainment center.
Honestly, the thing is if you buy an Xbox, you have to buy Xbox games to get the most out of it.
I mean, you can get Game Pass and they do mirror to Windows, but if I don't have a gaming PC, that doesn't fucking matter. And I already have a gaming library on PC, so I think I'm gonna content myself with a PC upgrade for now. But arguably that means their presser worked because they made sure that I will be in the ecosystem for the exclusives. But like we just had that discussion, I'm probably not going so far as to Xbox myself.
No, I'll definitely see about Starfield. There's no way that Starfield's not gonna come out on PC. There's no way.
Oh yeah, no. They only said it was on consoles exclusive to the Xbox.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fair. Like I said, they like their lowest common denominator, and I think we only talked about this off mic in the pre-show. But if Elder Scrolls 6 is somehow Xbox exclusive, I'm gonna be like, all right, you're selling it to Satan. I'm not rewarding this behavior. But I'm also pretty sure they won't do that. I'm pretty sure Elder Scrolls 6 will be on everything because that's how Skyrim was, and Skyrim is wildly successful as a result. The fact that you can play it on refrigerators,
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of Skyrim's thing. So I expect 6 will be in a similar vein. They'll put it on everything. I'm hopeful that Outer Wilds 2 is also on everything like the original one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know if the game like sold quite enough they would want to make it exclusive, you know?
Well, yes, this is the thing I definitely will say about Xbox, the Xbox pressers, is they usually just drop a bunch of money just so they can premiere the most shit and not necessarily care whether or not it's exclusive or not.
Outer Worlds 2, the Obsidian space RPG that I really, really liked, and did not get a robust enough DLC package, in my opinion, though I do have to try the little DLCs they did do. But, hey, they're doing a sequel. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you are absolutely right. We also talked about this in the pre-show. Like, I'm kind of annoyed by how Xbox does their teasers because they only list what Xbox consoles it's on. But I know, for instance, that Battlefield, what is it, 2042?
I believe it's 2042.
The audience will know. I double-checked to be sure, but I'm like, there's no way that's Xbox exclusive. No, it's on every. That's a game, by the way, that I will probably buy on sale because I don't know if I want to spend $70 on a multiplayer-only game.
Yeah.
Like, the multiplayer looks sick. It's doing next-gen stuff. If it's multiplayer only, I don't want to spend $70. Especially considering I know that they're going to try and get me with DLC updates and subscriptions and season passes. I've played a Battlefield game, guys.
I know about that life.
I know how they operate. Also, yes, I believe that was one of the few presences of EA at E3 at all. EA also skipped this year entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And just inserted their trailers into a couple of places. Let's see. They announced Stalker 2.
It looks good.
Those games, but I know that a lot of people are into them.
I played it.
Very good.
I played it, and yeah, it's definitely very good. I mean, it looks good, I should say. Excuse me.
Back 4 Blood is being sold hard on a lot of platforms. There was an Xbox trailer as well, but we know it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about a shitload of stuff on Game Pass, including like a dragon, etc. Hades is coming to Game Pass. I do believe that means that soon PlayStation will be the only title without a Hades release. Not that I mind it on Switch. That's perfectly functional to me. But yeah, it's definitely out there. They're trying to make Fallout 76 cool still. I would argue Fallout 76, you do not make yourself cool by referencing the worst Fallout 3 DLC. That's right. I said it. The Pit is the worst.
You said it.
Yeah, I see no disagreement so far in chat. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's called Fallout 76 Expeditions: The Pit, which I'm sure is just an excuse for them to reuse those map assets. What the fuck is this game? Somerville. Small family trying to escape. Game Pass. That's an indie game. Looked neat though. We got some trailers for the Diablo 2 re-release, the remaster.
That looks pretty cool.
Actually, I think this was a world premiere reveal. They announced a sequel to A Plague Tale.
Yes.
It included Waves of Rats.
I am actually interested in A Plague's Tale. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I never got into the first one, but if they're making more, that means I've heard it was pretty successful.
There has been a prediction / leak that we might be getting A Plague's Tale on PlayStation Plus for July. But
well, if it turns out correct, I will check it out. I'll at least download it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a prediction based off some leaked information, so
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
We got more Far Cry 6 because Far Cry 6 was also everywhere. They showed that you can get yet another pet. It was the rooster with a spike collar.
It was the best. Apparently you have this weird
Ranger 2 was announced.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lucky.
I'm about to say, apparently you have this weird ass backpack I saw in Far Cry 6. I was like, what?
Yeah, we saw that in some of the earlier trailers. That seems like that's kind of their like weird ultimate weapon thing. Like you can get a backpack that it's like a jetpack or a flamethrower or a rocket launcher. It looks like it's just part of the like heavy influence on customization they got going on.
I guess that's cool.
They announced Slime Rancher 2. It's a fun looking game I never played out. They announced Shredders, I think, or at least they did a trailer for Shredders. It is a snowboarding game.
Cool.
Looks all right. This Replaced game looks pretty cool. That's a PC and Xbox type game that's got some like cyberpunk leanings. There was a trailer, an announcement, I believe, for Eiyuden Chronicle. Yeah. This is a very confusing story. So I'm reading an article. So the first game announced was Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. That was kickstarted, but that was pushed back by the publisher until 2023. However, they have another game, which is Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which they just announced, which will come out before that. Don't ask me how that works, but yes, it's made, I believe, by the devs of the Suikoden series.
I believe a lot of people are calling it a spiritual successor.
Yeah, very common in these times. There was an official trailer for Age of Empires 4.
I'm excited about that. I actually love Age of Empires.
Then they spent a lot of time talking about Forza.
A lot of cars.
Then they announced, I was complaining, well, not complaining, but like confused by this game earlier. They announced Redfall by Arcane, which is like a 4-man co-op shooter, it looks like, against vampires. It's weird.
Apparently, Back 4 Blood has people jazzed. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This was a legitimate announcement. They are releasing an Xbox-shaped mini fridge.
I find that hilarious. I'm okay with this, honestly.
So that was, I think that's all the highlights I had from the Xbox One and Bethesda. Does anybody else remember anything else interesting?
About the Xbox? Oh. Like, here's the thing. Xbox didn't necessarily sell me on, like, well, I take that back. It did sell me. I do want to play Age of Empires 4. I do want to play Halo. Like, but like I said, like, the thing is, I just don't want to play fucking Halo multiplayer. I'm not about that life.
And that was other than the new story trailer, that was a big focus of this presser.
Yeah.
Like, multiplayer is back. It has cool stuff. Like, for me, and for a lot of I know the other Halo fans in the community are like, oh, that multiplayer does look pretty cool.
Yeah, and like, and Megan, if you were like being like, hey, look, let's go play some Halo multiplayer, I'd be like, okay, sure, why not? I will die horribly, but, I'll have a decent time. But if I pick up Halo...
Hell, I mean, we could probably have we've got a big enough community. We could probably, like, fill some private lobbies with some nerds,
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah, I know, because, like, again, I know I've mentioned this before. It's like, I hate playing multiplayer by myself. I hate playing with nothing but strangers. Like, if I have at least one or two dudes in there who will, like, you can hear me screaming and suffering, I'm usually fine with it. But no, what I'm about Halo for is I want to get that story, because I know Halo has a very rich storyline that is, like, through several games, several books, and all that stuff. And I do want to, like, eventually...
Game studios? Yeah, we've talked about this before. I'm definitely, like, I need the upgrades to play all the super high-level graphics, but... I am absolutely for us sometime taking a detour and just playing all the Halo campaigns together.
Yeah. So looking at like what it has so far, I'm like, no, this looks good. Like, yeah, so I want to try it.
The graphics look good, and they have definitely done, like, not just multiplayer only, but core gameplay edits, like the addition of the grappling hook they showed off, which you can use to grapple items to you, or also to grapple to stuff.
Yeah. Like,
they look like they're doing a lot of stuff. They've shown off some slight variations of some vehicles. It looks like they are... the delay was good for them. 343 and Xbox Studios are working hard to make this the Xbox killer app, the Halo killer app they need. Because, I mean, they needed it, and that's fine. I'm okay with that, because I can play it on PC.
Oops.
And as much as I know that's not optimal with first-person shooters, I am perfectly comfortable being mediocre at Halo Online with a controller. And honestly, sometimes not that mediocre. I assume there's some kind of padding, because on Master Chief Collection, people can play with either controller or keyboard and mouse. So maybe there's some generosity there in the back end, or, I don't know. I'm okay at shooters. I got a decent amount of practice at multiplayer shooters. I will once again reiterate, though, fuck Halo SWAT. That's a game mode that makes Halo not Halo. It's dumb. I don't like it.
Halo SWAT? What?
The SWAT game mode, I've talked about it before, but you would probably forget it because it was just me rambling. It's a game mode in multiplayer where you have no shields, damage that is not headshots does way, way less. I believe your motion tracker is turned off, and in later games like Reach, you don't have armor power. So basically, it makes Halo into a, Counter-Strike, Rainbow Six style, like, precision shooter, as opposed to, all the fun shit you normally do in Halo.
Huh.
And I've played a decent amount of it in Reach on Master Chief Collection, and I'm just like, Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I'm okay at headshots. I'm not so good that I can, pop shots. Maybe if I get like a high-level computer that can do perfect rendering. But no, as I play normally, I'm like, I'm not that good. Headshots are cool, but I'm not so good that only headshots count. Plus, no recurring shields and you die instantly. It just takes a lot of the fun out of Halo for me. Because I like regenerating shields and I like the motion tracker and stuff. Somebody did throw out, we did not mention it because it is, and I'm not really about Sea of Thieves, but I think it's funny. They are doing a Sea of Thieves update that does include literal Captain Jack Sparrow.
It looks entertaining, but
wild.
It looks pretty entertaining, but like I'm not really about like again. Sea of Thieves is again one of those games that seems like I need a crew to hang out with and do it.
Yeah, I think they've done a lot for content, but it is absolutely because it is an online only game with like heavy multiplayer elements. It doesn't seem any fun to just bum around with by yourself. I mean, like maybe for small stuff, I've seen some creators get very trolly with it, on your own, waiting for people to like dock their boats and then fill their boats with so many crates full of chickens their boat sinks, or other weird nonsense you can do. But yeah, inherently it's not a game I would play without a crew. And honestly, as much as I like pirates, I'm kind of... Yo, when's that, was it Skull and Crossbone gonna come out, though? That's a ghost game if there ever was one. But yeah, I think that's most of the fun Xbox Bethesda stuff. I'm interested in a lot of these titles. I'm hopeful that stuff isn't too exclusive. And if it is, well, I need to update my machine anyway. I already knew that because I've done experimenting with Halo, and I literally can't run Halo 4. Like, it goes to cutscenes and my computer's like, blark. GPU not found. Can't run. I'll fix it. Not anytime soon, though. So I think the same day was Square. Squeenix.
A lot of people talking shit.
Some people talk shit. A lot of people talk shit. I thought, especially considering panels that came after and came before, I'm like, no, this is perfectly fine.
No, like, honestly, no, like I like the Square. And so, but
I mean, the thing is, there was one trailer that was instantly memey.
It was so...
We were joking about it as it happened. But, there was a demo for this, right?
Yeah, no, so... We'll talk about Guardians of the Galaxy in a bit, but I do want to talk about Strangers... Was it of Paradise or in Paradise? One of the two.
Final Fantasy Origin.
Yeah. So a lot of people are giving it shit, because, like, from character design and whatnot, and how there wasn't actually a lot shown. But... this is one of those things where I actually had to talk to people in our Discord about this earlier. About people are way too gung-ho to just to fire from the hip and not actually stop and think about things at all.
Oh yeah, no, I saw so many hot takes on like Twitter and even in our Discord that day where it's like, look at this weird shaved head dude. Moaning about chaos every 5 seconds. I'm like, yeah,
honestly, the chaos thing, I still find that hilarious. It's just funny.
Oh no, it's funny.
But, like, here's
also, I like how it confused everybody, because everybody was just like, well, what's all this chaos business? And I'm like, wait, chaos? Oh, this is the Final Fantasy Origin thing, isn't it? And then the moment the Night Garland came up, I'm like, oh, no, this is the Final Fantasy Origin thing. This is an FF1 remake.
Yeah.
We are the Warriors of Light.
So, like, here's the thing. They didn't necessarily have to go particularly ham with their trailer, because their fucking demo was available day one. Well... I should say, technically, it was available.
Yeah, I believe there was a bug. I haven't checked it out, but I will probably later.
Oh, I have. I've played it a bit.
Yeah, I know you did.
So, people, like, basically just shot from the hip and didn't understand. They were talking about why this one dude in the center just looks so plain. It's because this is a fucking Ninja Theory game where, like fucking Neo, where when you change your armor, you change how you fucking look. That thing he's wearing is just literally his basic-ass outfit.
That's your starting gear that does nothing and you immediately change out of.
Yeah. Like, so it's just like, oh, man. But...
yeah, no, and I do think because there was the slight gap on the demo, there was an issue, but I think it's like when last year they announced, at a Nintendo Direct, they announced Triangle Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't say that, Devilish. I'm sure they'll find it forth. They just don't want to reveal it yet. It'll probably be a chick. That'll be the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. But no, like, I feel like the plan was like what they did with Triangle Strategy, which was hey, we're gonna show you this game. It's got good core mechanics, but there's probably still some experimentation left. We're gonna release a demo like right after this. Go check it out. And because the demo was kind of bugged and was not executed correctly, people couldn't get their taste of the actual gameplay right away. So most people were just left with a very memey trailer. It's okay. They forgot in 2 days because there was another meme.
Yeah, good job, Kotaku.
But yeah. Let's see. So that was a late game one. I am disappointed slightly in the Square panel because they did do a sizzle reel at the end, which did include mention of 16, but there was no 16 actually at their E3 presser.
Yeah,
kind of sad. Little bit of a tease, but you know it's whatever. Also, I think they showed that other like new game they showed last year that they didn't have a name for yet with a different name.
I know they showed. They showed some Babylon's Fall, didn't they?
That was another big one. Yeah. Now we know that Babylon's Fall is real, and what it is, which is basically it's multiplayer Nier. Like it's by Platinum with Square Enix. And they made sure to sell you on the fact that the game design, you know, the gameplay loop is coming from the guys who brought you Nier Automata. Like that's what they hard sold in this trailer, and I'm like, okay, if I got a squad, I'm in. You know, like if we can do multiplayer games as a service, you know, dungeon crawler Automata, I'll do it. I'll do the gameplay. Just don't stick me with the character class where I have to ape 9S's style.
Have to hack.
I don't want to hack things and have to shoot projectiles. I would much prefer to slash.
Slash. Like kilobytes.
But yeah, that was a big one in the middle. I mean, okay, that trailer was like arguably super overwrought, but it's a fucking Square and Platinum title, you know, developed by Platinum, published by Square. It's they went under their way to say it's a very high fantasy design. You've got a weird thing on your back that's called the Gideon casket or something. Like, yeah, it's trying hard, but that's how it be. My other assumption was that it was going to be like Dark Souls, but I actually don't think, based on how they said, it will actually be that Dark a Soul. How the trailer started, though, with the talking about the tower and the fall, I'm like, all right, this is going to be some Dark Souls shit. I mean, I expect that, like, it's not as crazy on the action for a Platinum game because you have multiple people on screen. They probably don't want you to be doing, like, too much shit on your own because they're expected you're gonna have more people doing stuff. It seems like there is a very strong, like, story undercurrent as to why you're climbing this tower for stuff. It's just that the details are not revealed. I'm gonna guess it's probably going to be like super awful at the end, and you're not gonna like climbing to the top of the tower because reasons. I mean, I haven't heard that at all. If they say it's like Mon Hun, I don't know what that means because I don't play Monster Hunter. I think the only other big news from this trailer was that it will be also coming to PS5. Because it's not fucking.
Whoops.
I think it was actually more interesting that because the big blob, and this is kind of what turned people off because there was like 20 minutes of Marvel content. But what does surprise me is that Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out so soon and on previous gen. I believe they've said that it'll even be available on Switch, but with like streaming play. But that was a big one. I heard this was apparently this was pre-announced to the press, not necessarily leaked, but I didn't hear about it, so I was quite surprised to see it. And as their big centerpiece opener, it looks pretty sick.
No, I like it.
It's definitely a little more comics leaning with the character designs and stuff. But it's got a lot of the heart of the Guardians. They made sure to shout out to some of the original comic artists and authors.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like they're deliberately doing the art style slightly distinct, you know, like Star-Lord doesn't look that much like his actor in the Marvel movies because he's got the blonde hair and the front floof. but everybody keeps kind of the personality you'd expect. Everybody was super hype about them using Comics Gamora's design. I can understand. She looks pretty sick in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know it was a lot of time, but I think the deep dive was earned because it really did sell me on the game. Because I'm like, all right, this seems cool. What do you do? Okay, you can only control Star-Lord. That's a little limited. But then they show you the actual the deep gameplay video, and they're like, oh yeah, no, you just have a button command to command the other guys to come in and do their specials and do all this stuff. There was apparently a version of this stream where they replaced the licensed music for the audience, and having seen other people talk about that version sucked. So spoilers, guys, I'm not going to stream this game because I'm going to leave the licensed music on. You need shit like Bad Reputation and Holding Out for a Hero to be... They did say that it would be slightly more 80s inspired than the 70s of the Marvel Cinematic Universe version, but I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it seems like they've got their heart in the right place, and it seems pretty cool. What really sold me was the genuine insistence on all the Guardians are around you all the time, and everybody's doing the funny haha interaction thing all the time as well.
They don't shut up, and it's great.
No, and it's exactly what you want out of Guardians, right?
That's all
every Drax line was killing me.
Oh god, no! I just remember it's all this looks impregnable. Well, how do we impregnate it? Ask Peter. And I was just like, I'm dying.
Gamora yells out because she's ahead a little bit. Ask Peter. And Peter's like, all right.
Just others.
There's a shot of him in the trailer where it looks like he's getting choked out by a tentacle, but then he turns around and is it like a hand? No, I'll be fine. I'll call you later. Groot still only talks by saying, I am Groot. And yet other people can understand him.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, the dialogue from what we've seen seems like it is on point. The gameplay looks like it'll probably be pretty fun. I know some people will be sad you can only control Star-Lord, but because you can command everybody else, it seems like it'll flow pretty good. There's an actual decision-making system. Your allies will remember what you say. If you let I love how they turn it on its head, right? Instead of blah 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 will remember this, or the original Dragon Ages, Morgan disapproves. It's Morgan. It's what does it say? It's
Rocket
is absolutely furious that you let Drax do that. It goes to that extra level.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, nah, this is good. It does look like they've got some fun enemy design as well. They threw some weird gelatinous cube shit at you. No, it looks like it'll be a fun time, and it's releasing later this year. I'll probably pick up the old next-gen version. It does seem like there's a level-up system.
Mm-hmm.
So some RPG-like elements that make sense, probably.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it'll be a good time.
Yeah, looks sick. And I do actually think that it was a good lead, because it was. I don't think it was like I said, I heard some people saying, "Oh, this is Guardians," so clearly press knew about it ahead of time, but I don't remember it being a lot of people were saying a lot of those games were other games were leaked ahead of time. I know Tiny Tina Wonderland got pre-leaked. There was a announcement that was not an announcement. They talked about pixel remasters of the first 6 Final Fantasies, all the 2D sprite ones.
All on mobile. They literally just gave a 30-second teaser and just all right, cool, fine. We're just hold the fuck up.
They showed you 6 logos. They said the phrase pixel remaster and said coming soon Steam Mobile. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Come back here with that?
So I assume that just means that some high def pixels.
That is Life is Strange.
Yeah, that's Life is Strange 2. They did announce they're doing a Life is Strange remastered for the original Life is Strange, all those episodes, and also the prequel Before the Storm. I like those games. They've got an interesting history. That's how we started doing Video Game Book Club, which led us to try that out with FGO, and that became Let's Talk FGO.
Mm-hmm.
It was a PS Plus month. You could get all the episodes of Life is Strange. So me, Lucky, and our friend Ron all got together and we played all the episodes and we talked about it afterward. You can still find the original on our channel somewhere. So yeah, I'm interested in 2. That's the Empath one. Let's see. They announced some more Marvel Avengers content. That game still exists. They talked about pre-registration for Near Reincarnation.
Yep.
they shilled one of their Final Fantasy gacha games a little bit.
Yeah, Brave Exodus.
Yeah, they reminded you that First Soldier exists. There was no other big remake news other than it reminding you that a remake has had the intergrade, and you can actually get it now and the DLC. Yeah, the big ender was Life is Strange, remastered collection, then a decent description of gameplay and stuff for True Colors, the sequel. Looks pretty cool. Like we said earlier, some people were kind of daubing on it because, let's be real, the as good of a look as it was, compared to like how long it is, because it was only like 30 minutes, the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff does kind of take up a decent chunk of the time, and it is a licensed title. But at the same time, I don't think Square's ever been in a rush to announce shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can be certain whenever Sony decides to have that state of play, they will probably, because I believe 16 is a console exclusive to them, they will probably have more 16 news, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of other stuff like that. And then things didn't go quiet per se, but there were a lot of nothing pressers, I think.
I guess that's the best way to call it, unfortunately.
Yeah, they were, like, there was some stuff I was interested in, but they were all, like, pre-announced. Like, there was a Bandai Namco one, I think, that was just, like, one game that I didn't know about. There was a Capcom one, but I don't think it was only, like, 2 or 3 games. And it wasn't really new announcements. It was just trailers and info about stuff they'd already announced, I think. And then we kind of round out with Nintendo. They, as always, have the last laugh. And to be fair, if you did not like the Square Enix panel, and if you did not care for any of the other like smaller panels and stuff that happened, there was like the one that I think Take-Two Interactive did. That was a lot of people were dogging on because it was literally a Zoom call, but it was, I think it was supposed to be like, it was not really a press release. It was a discussion about like diversity in the field and stuff. I mean, it's a little weird to basically do the equivalent of like a TED Talk during E3, but I'm not going to dog them because it was not meant to be a normal press event, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I question management's decision to do this during E3. I know there are a lot of eyes, but also there's going to be a lot of people who are looking for announcements. And like I said, there were some quarters that good panels and good presentations did not come from. But Nintendo closed it out with a Nintendo Direct, which was great as always. Just an absolute slam up. They started with Smash. Another great meme announcement trailer. Every time, I swear, Sakurai and his team must deliberately make these trailers in order to make them memes.
Probably. Memes, listen, if you spread memes, that spreads awareness.
Because, like, that was last year with the Sephiroth thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the thing for announcing Kazuya. They showed him just throwing people into the fire, which very quickly became a meme. One of my personal favorites, the rest of E3 going in, Nintendo. And I mean, like we said, the Bethesda Xbox had plenty of trailers and stuff. Kind of just back to back to back, you know? You can't fault them for the content, but Nintendo definitely has, I think, they've been doing this the longest with Nintendo Direct. They know how to cut these things and what trailers to show and what announcements to make to like really get a rise out of the audience.
Yeah, what they basically do is to take the thing that they haven't touched in fucking forever, then give you a snippet of it so people absolutely lose their fucking mind. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously some of that is just the natural rotation of studios. You're like, oh hey, we haven't released this project in a while, you know? Much shame to the fact that the meme almost seems like a dig because the final cut of the trailer is him throwing 4 franchises which haven't gotten any action in a long time.
Yeah,
it's Captain Falcon, Pit, the Arms Girl, and then Marth, which I feel like was a subtle no Fire Emblem News Kids. Sorry,
like because this is what I just realized. People are saying this is the best because they got the things that have been like dead for literal fucking years. And they just, just came out. But you got to think about it. That means they've just been dead for years.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of making a good presentation, because Nintendo knows what you want to hear about and when you want to hear it, right?
Yeah, they'll just starve you of it until you're fanatical.
I mean, that probably depends on the dev cycle. I mean, for Nintendo Directs, they do them several times a year, so they definitely pace them out. But you are right that they have absolute control over when they make the announcements. I know some people are waiting for more information on other things. Let me see. Life is Strange is coming to Switch. So is Guardians. They had a little bit of a double up with Square. Worms Rumble. Astria Ascending, which is a 2D JRPG that looks kind of neat.
Neat.
People are tall. There's a Monkey Ball anniversary thing.
Monkey Ball.
Then we get to some more Nintendo first-party news.
Mm-hmm.
That was Mario Party Superstars, which is a remaster of several classic Mario Party boards and mini games all in one with Switch Online play.
I'm excited for this. I'll totally get this.
That seems pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the classics. And then after that, we had, I think, our first really big one, which was Metroid Dread.
Yeah. A project.
Which is... Well, go ahead. I think you're going to say it anyway.
How many years was it? Like 20-something years?
Yeah. It was, I believe, Was it a first-gen DS or was it a GBA title originally?
I don't remember.
Because it's a sequel to Fusion.
Yeah.
Which has... Talking about dead games and dead franchises has been dead for decades.
Yeah.
But they brought it back. They're making a 2D Metroid again. I feel like, obviously, this was probably in, like, talks and development a long time for them to actually bring this back. You know, a lot of work came up to this. I feel like they probably went with this announcement and stuff because they were like, we are working on Prime 4. We don't have anything to show you right now. And Nintendo did preface their entire presser by saying, due to COVID, some of these dates and stuff, may not stay precise,
Mm-hmm.
So... Yeah, but then they have actual, honest-to-gosh gameplay for Dread. You know, they had a trailer.
Yeah, no, it looks
A
pretty
lot
good.
of people talking about Samus's armor is pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
They are definitely going for the slight horror elements with, these being chased and stuff. But you do look like you can get some abilities to hide. That seems pretty cool. There's not a lot of super info to go on, but they had, a decent amount of minutes about it. Look good. Like I said, they have plenty of gameplay, so... Let me just slide to the end here and see. Do they have a release date? No, it doesn't look like they show a release date. They probably said it out loud. I'm not going to unmute it because I don't want to get Nintendo on my butt. More about Mario Golf. That game looks cool. Monster Hunter Stories 2. And then another big one, WarioWare coming back.
Yeah, that's another dead one.
You knew there had to be a WarioWare on the Switch. I mean, WarioWare is kind of a gimmicks franchise. I can see why they wait console generations to bring it out.
Yeah, but
it has been a while. It's very... With COVID, it's always so interesting to think about, like, what if these games would have been announced earlier or even out already, if there hadn't been delays and stuff.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, they're making a new WarioWare. That's pretty cool. They had a big trailer for, which is not Nintendo exclusive, but they did score a trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5.
People are going nuts.
Yeah. Some people feel compelled to, for some reason, to ask the question of what gender is the SMT5 protagonist. My response is protagonist. I mean, okay. All right, to slide into some real life stuff. I understand, obviously, I've always said this, I understand people's quest for representation, but I don't think that people should necessarily scramble out of their way to force representation in titles which are not necessarily going for that.
Yeah.
Because that gets a little weird and projects a lot of stuff onto the writers and developers of things that they are not necessarily asking for or need. And I mean, you get to run around post-apocalyptic Demon Tokyo. They've got demons on the map. You do RPG stuff. It's SMT. I might pick it up. I haven't played any of the mainline SMT games, but as you know, I have played the Persona.
Yeah.
Let's see. They did some Danganronpa. I believe they're coming out with all the previous games. They're coming to individually coming to Nintendo eShop and on a physical collection.
Always cool.
And I thought this was new, but it is not actually. But they announced that they are making a Switch port of the previous Fatal Frame game, and it's not just Switch; it's also coming to other consoles. But it was previously on Wii U.
Mm-hmm. Slowly getting everything out of the Wii U, the Wii U dumpster. I guess is the best way to put it.
Oh, please put that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker remaster on there. I know Skyward Sword remaster comes out soon. That's gonna be a whole thing. That I don't have time for, but we'll have to get. But yeah, no, definitely get things out of the Wii U dungeon.
Dungeon. That's the word I was thinking of, not dumpster.
I mean, it can be likened to a dumpster.
I suppose.
They had another trailer for Mario plus Rabbids 2, but obviously that was a big reveal at
the Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, Summer Game Fest, and the Ubisoft panel. But I want to say this is pretty funny considering the Metal Slug Tactics reveal. They announced they're remastering the original 2 Advance Wars.
Yeah, no, I played that.
I have not, but I will because obviously I can see from the graphical design and like the coloration, I can see that obviously this is a game developed in a similar style to Fire Emblem.
Yes.
So I'm like, I've never played Advance Wars. I'll play a remaster. They look nice.
No, I totally will too. I'll pick it up.
They also have a cute, sporty army girl who's wearing a cut-off tank top. I wonder if it's a theme of the genre. I don't think she has quite as much abs as the Metal Slug girl, though. Dude with a hat. But yeah, no, that's cool. Mm-hmm. They've got expansion pass details for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Zelda gets a bike.
Yeah!
I should wrap up Age of Calamity sometime when I have time. I've been very casually playing Hades instead. And then this basically actually kicked off all the Zelda news. They brought out your main mans after this to give you the news. They brought out AG Aonuma. First was reminding you that Skyward Sword HD is coming out. Next was reminding you that they're making... Actually, I think it was an announcement they made. No, I feel like he was talking about it already. But they're doing some Game & Watch shit for Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, to show the little...
You can get 1, 2, and Link's Awakening, the original version.
Yep.
It also does, in fact, function as a watch, in case you were curious. The game and the watch. They're also remaking a classic Mr. Game & Watch game, but with Link. But that was just a tease, because they did say we would get more news later, and they were like, all right, we don't have any heavy details for you yet on Breath of the Wild 2, but we do have a new trailer. And we have a release one. So there was a new trailer. You get a laser beam arm thing. It does stuff.
Looks like it got corrupted and you had to like put something on it or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's giving them some interesting, letting them shift the paradigm on some of the old Sheikah Slate functions and giving you some more weird gadgets. Like at some point, you traverse, like, you magnetize up to a surface. Because it seems to be another theme, they are expanding the map vertically.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting some islands in the sky and shit so you can explore in the sky over Hyrule as well as the original Hyrule ground. It's shown in the trailers very obviously that Hyrule Castle is physically flying its ass up there. And more evil Calamity Ganon goop is flying out of it. Of course there is. Always when you think you fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks again. But yeah, at one point you like fly up, you touch it, and then you slide through the rock to the actual surface where you can walk around on.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they are doing some new things. It's not quite the like full blown regular ass Legend of Zelda tools they're busting out. And I mean, I don't know if they're using the same engine and the same gameplay conceits, if they would even go back to the full. I know I've talked about that. I do hope that with the addition of like literally eating stuff into the sky, we can get some real ass dungeons up in here.
Mm-hmm.
That was my primary want out of a Breath of the Wild sequel. Was like, okay, but we need like real dungeons. Like shrines are cool, but like give me some classic Zelda dungeon shit.
Mm-hmm.
Even the sacred beasts are pretty short when you set your mind to it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but it was good. They gave us the news. I believe they did say that they are aiming for 22. Yeah, 2022. That's the only window they've got. It will be 2022, but I'm glad they remembered it exists and they showed us a new trailer. They're working hard.
Yeah.
And that's where Nintendo ended, and it was a very good presser because, like you said, they gave you info from franchises you hadn't heard about. They gave you information on some franchises that you had heard about but did not have news on yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, even when they're announcing shit you already know about, like new Smash characters, they still managed to do it in an interesting and witty way. It wasn't perfect. There are still some franchises I know they missed or will come back later, or they will talk about when they were on Treehouse for like 5 hours or whatever after this. But still, Nintendo Directs are usually pretty good. Yeah, it was 05 for Dread. I just checked regular chat.
05, wow.
Yeah, it was going to be a first-gen DS title. Makes sense. So that's, I think, everything important that was in E3. Managed to talk about that for about an hour. I think E3 was okay.
Again, like you said, like, for what E3 was, I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's whatever, it is. I like game news, but honestly, I think all these like studios and whatnot should just do their own directs and streams and not have to worry about a like E3 as is, because E3's changed a lot from what it originally was.
Yeah, E3 is always changing. Like back in the day, E3 was a press-focused event where you would physically go, and they held press conferences for the press in the audience.
Yeah.
And they did, obviously, at some point they started streaming those, but it was still mostly about the press aspect, because it was the only place for a lot of these, companies to get together and all on the same ground and show their stuff.
Yeah.
Now that we live in the direct-to-consumer world where every major game outlet has a YouTube channel that they usually can just stream on,
Mm-hmm.
or premiere on. They don't even need to stream. They can pretend it's a live stream, They can just throw up videos and go direct to consumer. And like Nintendo cottoned onto this very fast, which I think is very interesting because Nintendo being a majority Japanese company, and in the past also, they've been very weird about doing new things,
Mm-hmm.
Like they were very late to the online aspect, stuff like that. But they were one of the first to be like, no, we don't need E3 and big. Like we'll announce stuff at the same time because hey, late June is or I guess mid June by now is a good time to announce games, right? Because it'll be. It's like your last opportunity to remind people about games that are coming out in the summer. It's a perfect time to let people know about hard and fast dates you have for fall and holiday games. And it's a good place to announce games that aren't coming out until next year because next year's only 6 months away. It could be early next year. It's never early next year. But
it's always holiday. It's always holidays.
You hope these things. I mean, there's still a wealth of big summer blockbuster games that come out, But yeah, it's... The gaming schedule is a thing, so it's a good time to announce, but Nintendo's been doing directs for literally years, and they've gotten very good at it. They've gotten very good at their snappy style, their literal snappy style. They throw up some guys on screen, a narrator talks to you in a calm but happy voice, they show you some trailers, they remind you of dates. I think they blend the Xbox style of just trailer with slightly more slow presentations very well,
Yeah.
Where it's like, occasionally they know when they need to stop down and be like, here's a lead up to this next trailer, or here we're going to show you like 3 trailers in rapid succession, we'll be right back, kind of a
Yeah.
Like they've gotten very good at their presentation. PlayStation State of Plays are also getting to a similar level because Sony has been very committed about doing them.
They're also weird because sometimes they'll just literally have like a half-hour one about a single game.
Yes, which at this E3 there were a couple of those. Like
Yeah.
I think that was the Bandai Namco one. Like, and that's okay. I do feel like they are not always the best about letting you know that ahead of time. Though some recent State of Plays have been like that. Like the Ratchet and Clank one was like, and we'll end with like 15 minutes of actual gameplay from Ratchet and Clank, and we're like, okay, this is mostly about Ratchet and Clank, but a little bit more than that. They talked a couple of other things in there. So yeah, it's it's interesting to see how this direct to consumer thing shakes out, and that some game studios have not necessarily gotten great at it. And honestly, I'm actually kind of glad that it seems like Xbox really took the lead on the joint Xbox Bethesda presser, because Bethesda has had some weird E3s before. You know?
Mm-hmm.
They've had some ones where Todd Howard or Pete Hines or whoever gets up on stage in front of 100 people and talks for maybe a little too long, cracks some jokes for the audience to get some chuckles. They include musical guests occasionally, which is okay, but sometimes you're like, all right, but I'm not here for a musical performance.
I'm here for games.
Maybe if I was literally in this airplane hangar you're doing this press conference from, I would care, but I'm not, so I don't. But they kept the Xbox style, Phil Spencer style of E3, where they're just like, hello, I'm on stage. This game is cool. It's great. We're glad to have you. Take a look at blah. And then he goes away for like 5 minutes and they show you like 4 fucking trailers. And then he comes back. Did you like those trailers? Cool. Here's our next guest to talk about this game. They have a very good flow to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I have my pet peeves about how Xbox does things, but I've been saying this for years. They are really good at E3 presentations. They know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And they know what people want,
Yeah.
So, E3 has been weird for several years. It was canceled last year because of COVID, but I like the influx of news, like you said, Lucky. It's always good to hear things, get announcements, get data.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that maybe next year some companies will have learned, and hopefully some executives and shareholders will have learned, hey, maybe if you don't have anything more than like 5 to 10 minutes of stuff to announce, you should just like piggyback on somebody else's. Hell, Xbox will probably like slip you a 20 under the table if you can pad out their things with a world premiere trailer, Yeah. They love that shit. Jeff Keighley's rolling in that Bezos Amazon money.
Yeah.
At least at this year's Summer Game Fest, brought to you by Amazon Prime Gaming.
Yeah, they were not subtle about that.
Nope. Hey, the man's doing the hustle. I can be cynical about why we see shilling for certain Amazon type stuff, but I mean it's where his bread is buttered. So.
Yep.
Well, they did bring some good trailers to that Summer Games Fest, so I'm okay. It's very intriguing, very good back and forth. There was another interesting bit of gaming news that I want to touch on very briefly that I heard the other day, which is that Sony is planning on relisting Cyberpunk soon.
Yep.
Cyberpunk came through with another patch for stability recently, shoring up some more stuff, especially on consoles, and it does sound like they have done enough that Sony is okay with putting them back on. Which I think will be interesting because it's now several months on and there are more PS5s in the wild. So I'm very curious how that will shake out for people. I think we talked about the thing where somebody like in the leaked stolen data, there was a glitch reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may mention that. I'm not upset about that. I mean, we're not upset about the game period, but I'm not upset that game developers in development made a reel of funny glitches that, from what I know about beta testing and quality assurance, that sounds like a thing you're supposed to do anyway, guys. Hey, I got a weird bug where, like, my motorcycle fused with the concrete. Oh, do you have footage of that? Yeah, I have the gameplay footage right here. And then, when they're bored, the QA guys string together half a dozen of those into, a clip. It's wacky. It's wild.
Sounds like the funnies.
And obviously, when that gets taken out of context by people, stealing their data and holding it ransom, I know there are still some animal people, some savages who are out there who think it's good that CD Projekt Red got their data stolen or whatever. And some people were like, oh, it's so ironic the corporation got their data stolen by hackers. Fuck you. You're not some cyberpunk, hacktivist nonsense. You're an asshole in front of a computer who might need to shave. Have you looked yourself in the mirror lately? You need to shave? I know I need to shave. Hopefully I'll have time to do that tonight. At least the fact that I know that I'm not clean-shaven currently and could use a shave because I look scruffy means that I can call other people scruffy. I know I'm scruffy. I need to fix it. You should fix it too. Shave.
Fix yourself.
Shave and shower. Ready? All right. We've been going for an hour. I would like to take a quick break, and Lucky can continue to fight some kind of windy bird thing.
It's Garuda.
very green for Garuda usually, but okay. But Lucky can do that while I will be gone for a second, and when we come back, we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
Let's pause the audio.
Gonna keep going. I was gonna do these with everybody else earlier, but I had to eat before we started streaming because I don't know how many hours we're gonna be here, and I need fuel. Oof. So we will do these. Yay, 3. Alright, now it's time for the Levy Man. Levy! One or more of your pieces of gear is noticeably low. Nah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Oh god, that is low. What is that at? 36? I should probably repair after this. After I kick this snake in the teeth! Where are you at? Where are you at? There you are, you animal. You primal. What? For Lord Leviathan! You punk. Oh shit, are we done? Shit.
Audio is rolling. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Somebody's saying in patron chat asking if SMT5 is Switch exclusive. I haven't heard that. I wouldn't be... Well, actually, I'd be a little shocked. I'm sure it can't be permanently exclusive unless Nintendo shelled out a lot of money. Because, aren't they... Is it the 3 that's been remastered recently on Steam? I think it's... They're doing a lot of stuff to bring those games everywhere. Obviously, there's money in exclusivity deals, but you got to be careful about locking yourself into exclusivity forever too long.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't feel like it's a first-party title, right? That needs to be on only the main console. It is Switch exclusive. I'm gonna guess that's probably timed exclusive then.
Well, SMT for a while has, I think, only been on Nintendo, like the DSs and whatnot. I know they had a few back on the PS2 era, but I don't think there's been like an SMT on anything besides a Nintendo console since then. I could be wrong.
Maybe they're emphasizing the portable aspect. Somebody's saying in main chat talking about mainline SMT. It's like the exclusive. It's very interesting. I mean, I know why some of their games, some of their SMT games, like I actually own not one of the numbered ones, but I own a title for like a DS, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple more. Those are, being sprite based and smaller they are. I know that the Persona Q series was only on DS, obviously, because it's what it was going for, but that's because, not a lot of handheld gaming. Nothing about SMT5 screams this must be on handheld to me. I'll play an RPG on Switch, I guess, if I decide to get into it. That said, we live in the era where you think a lot of things are exclusive because they're old, and then they show up on, like, Steam or whatever. There are so many games being re-released on Steam that I'm like, really? Wow. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But okay, I got a couple of things I can talk about, and we also talked the other day about some stuff you maybe wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, Lucky, where do you think we want to go next?
Ooh! I fell off. Now I have to do this all over again.
Whoop. Blorp.
Blorp. Oh, no, you can start.
All right, well, so, speaking of gaming, this is related to a trailer that was out there. This previous week, on stream, I played Hades.
Yep.
Lucky was correct. It is incredibly effortless to slap the Switch into the capture card and have OBS read it.
Yep.
It's almost like it would be better if there was an automatic control to remove HDCP. You know, something.
Yeah.
Sony, guys. Oh well. Yeah, it flowed with no problem, and I had no problem recording. In about 3 hours, I was able to get 3 runs done. They were pretty decent. I did get all the way to the final boss each time, but I did not prevail on stream. But it seemed to go pretty well. There was a little bit of the backseat, but I talked people down from the ledge. Figuring out various items and things. And they did remind me at a couple points to switch up my habits. I got into early game habits that I'm like, oh, I don't actually need to do this anymore. And since then, in the coming week, I have actually managed to beat the last boss a couple of times. I've been able to quote unquote clear the game after about 25-ish tries. And like I said, I play with God mode on now, so there's a sense of progression. I died enough times to get it all the way to 50% damage reduction. If you want to know what my handicap is, like golf. And I say beat the game because you don't actually much like everything else in Hades, the game isn't over when you clear it once. You have to clear it multiple times in order to actually keep doing the bit and get the story and stuff. Having fun though. And beating it the first time does kind of unlock a lot of extra resources, so you can get more shit back and actually, work with things, which is good because prior to that, the game has a slight problem with, other than resources you have to go on runs to get. The big shit like Titan blood, diamonds, etc. is kind of hard to get in excess. You basically have to bank your money all the way to the Temple of Styx, and where Charon will absolutely nickel and dime you for some of that shit. For a diamond. I can buy 2 boons here for only 500 coins, my dude. But once you actually finish it, you get access to the Pact of Punishment, and you can add negative modifiers to get more stuff out. I am currently running with only the 20% more enemies because I am a big baby, and I do not want the thing where I heal less damage or enemies are invincible for several hits and shit yet. But it's a fun game. I'm having fun. I am super on a train for I know it's not necessarily how Supergiant does things, but I would love a Hades Game of the Year or a DLC or something, adds in some new gods and some new boons. I know that would be a lot of work for them because of their how integrated everybody is, art style, voice acting, and everything. But it could be
cool. Damn it! I forgot about that. Too many effects.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm watching the preview, and I'm like, when you said that, I'm like, he got knocked off again. I'm trying to track. I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff going on that, at least from a bird's eye view, is not clear. You got, AoE pools, and then you're getting pushed off. This is Leviathan, right?
Yeah.
He's the captain now.
He's the captain.
I don't know why I said that. Loth's not here anymore. He went away. He had to go to his Ridge Raider game. He'll watch back the archive maybe in the bits he missed, and he'll get a good chuckle. I'll tell him about it tomorrow. He should go listen. But yes, having fun with the Hades. That said, I do not think I will be streaming the Hades this week because this was another thing that was announced and shown off and is out now. Among Us now has 15-player lobbies and more colors. So I think I will try out that chaos on stream and see how much I want to kill everybody. So I will announce it now on a Saturday. Get ready for that Monday. We'll see how much we all want to die.
Oh, I'm boned. I'm boned.
You're getting mobbed by Shugans. So
no, I got hit with a fucking... Oh, thank God. Okay, it barely ended. That pool, if I walk into it, gives me hysteria. And if I'm hysteria, I will just wander around the map. This map that has no railing, by the way.
Yeah, he took away the fences.
The ship is no longer OSHA compliant.
But yeah, so we're gonna try Among Us with more colors and more nonsense. Probably play the airship and maybe rotate to some of the other maps to see how fucking nuts they are with 15 people. If I can even find 15 people in Discord who are willing to crawl out of their hidey hole to hang out, I'll do my best. I believe Dallas said that he was 1,500% on board with this.
1,500%, Jesus.
And I'm like, okay, Dallas, calm down.
Is that okay? The bill's gone finally. Fuck.
Been hanging out with the guys a lot. We are coming up on the end of a quote unquote season of Progression Tournament, and I have unfortunately gone the entire season without winning a tournament. So I'm I've talked about this. I'm buckled down for some science. I have a spreadsheet. It has colored tabs. I am doing math. Like I am figuring out what my best run is, and I'm coming to some conclusions, I think, based on. But you can check out the situation we're dealing with now, on our latest episode out now. Go watch it. It's cool. I will once again, like I did on Let's Take FGO, plug that because we had an unbanned phase this week, we talked for like 20 minutes, so I sped that up to 1.5 speed, so you get to hear us all talk about Chipmunk. It's very funny. Everybody is amused by it so far. Get your mandated amusement today. But the other thing I have been doing is I have finally been playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Finally. I gotta say, it's interesting, Lucky. Have you ever actually played ME1?
Yeah, no, I beat ME1 and 2. I've never beat 3.
Okay. I wanted to double check. So I never had played 1 because it was Xbox exclusive for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my first time playing it, and obviously I know they have adjusted certain things for Legendary Edition because the mechanics of 1 were pretty different than how 2 and 3 did things.
Yeah,
I'm already kind of like, I'm missing what I remember from 2 and 3 a little bit already, but it's mostly okay. The big thing is I think I feel like my power selection and my power use is a little weird right now, but it's probably because I'm playing an infiltrator. Duh.
Finally, fuck.
So there's as far as I can tell, there's no cloak. That was my jam in 2, was turn invisible, move to new cover, pop somebody. But it's all right. I'm actually kind of intrigued. I'm like, oh, I have like all 4 guns all the time. That's cool.
Yep.
And you have switch people's weapons and stuff. It's interesting to see all the characters in their earlies. To see that Kaiden never really goes through character development. He just stays a sweet, slightly jaded baby child the entire time. That said, while Chief Williams is also super space racist, super spacist, she also seems pretty cool. That'll make a certain decision later very annoying. That's gonna be kind of especially when you've got the whole trilogy. That decision has a particularly long-reaching implications. We'll get there when we get there. It's interesting. I see what people are talking about with the elevator sequences, though unfortunately a lot of them seem to be random news blurbs that I don't need. You can choose not to skip them, by the way. The game gives you an X to skip, but if you want to let the dialogue play out, you can.
Good.
I do hate the Mako, or the Mako, however it's pronounced. Not for the control scheme. If the control scheme was bad in the original, they've mostly fixed it for Legendary Edition. My main problems are with the design of how they've implemented it. First of all, Thresher Maws suck. It's very annoying to have a mini boss while you're in the Mako because you cannot steer to dodge their super strong acid breath, and while you repair, you cannot shoot or boost, so you get more super acid spray, which is a spread that you can't avoid. Anyway, it's not a very tight aspect of the game design. I get obviously that they didn't necessarily want you to be fucking invincible in it all the time. Cause boy howdy, let me tell you, if you run into dudes on foot, those guys can't do shit. Not even the guys with the rockets. They're tiny, puny mortals. So that part does make you feel like you're in a fucking tank, but the Thresher Mob encounters have been really rough for me so far. Like my first one, it took me like 3 tries of getting exploded before I figured out the right rhythm to like dodge, heal, boost, etc. But in general, I like what they were going for with like, oh, we'll do these like wide open map zones you can drive around in. We'll do different colors of environments and stuff. Let you really explore all the space. I don't like how they did this explore all the space, which is we're going to do random mountain maps and we're going to put shit on it that doesn't matter. And they all look the same, just different colors. Like it's very much in the kind of game design you'd expect of like, oh, we're doing a big open world thing experimentally. It's all basically the same, but this planet is green and this one is brown and this one is more brown. And just every fucking thing is mountainous. Yep. Like there's no plains or anything. It's all just mountains. So you have to drive in certain spaces, but you don't because the Mako is an all-terrain vehicle and it will get over most things. It's just there to kind of give you some funny haha jumps and some ups and downs that are annoying to climb. And I'm like, all right, this was not a very polished aspect of the game design yet. And the fact that aspect gets reduced a lot in the sequels makes it obvious that it was not an essential gameplay component that could be reduced down.
Yeah.
my only other complaint that is kind of control based, but it's mostly just how they decided to do it, is the jump is fucking useless because the way the physics are modeled, it's accurate where the axis of thrust is based on where the jets are. So if you're on a slope, you just go backwards, or if you're doing a jump, you go backwards. It's just really annoying. It's so useless. It's like never once have I been able to use the jump to get like more air to go over an obstacle or something, because that's not how driving the Mako works. I'm just like, why did you program this jump? It does nothing. But it's, passable. I've been mostly doing what I do in Mass Effect and just going to random places, because it feels like every time I do a relay jump, Admiral Hackett calls me up and is like, Shepard, we've got a problem that only you, the first human Spectre, and a member of the Alliance Navy can solve. You have one of 3 responses to it. You can be happy, you can be neutral, or you can be upset. Goodbye, Shepard.
Honestly, I should be upset. You guys rely on me way too much.
I mean, it makes sense in the context, because that is something that the prologue stages before you get the open world are very good about building up, is like, hey, it's kind of a big deal. You're part of Alliance Special Forces. By the way, for I settled on my backstory in class. I'm going to go Infiltrator all the way for at least one run. I'm playing female Shepard, and my backstory is Earthborn, because that will make a dovetail into Mass Effect 3 very important. And then I just went with my Shepardiest Shepard, and I went War Hero. The Skillian Blitz, y'all. So I thought that would be a good way to be a very Shepard. Rex. Never get tired of that.
Rex is great.
The dialogue for everybody is pretty good. Like, you can tell your various levels. Like Caden very quickly drops Commander and just refers to you as Shepard a lot of the time, or Skipper sometimes. Ashley usually only calls you Commander or Skipper most of the time. A lot of the aliens refer to you by your full name, but your bros like Garrison and Rex are usually just Shepard. It's also very interesting. This is my first experience with the first gen Normandy, seeing how kind of like compact and almost kind of bland it is. Though obviously it is a military design, right? But I'm kind of like, ooh, this is very, very tied together. It's like 3 decks. They're all connected. No loading. As opposed to the Normandy SR2, which is multiple decks. You have your own room to bang in. You have the multiple levels. You've got the CIC and stuff. You've got the storage closets for your antisocial party members to hide in. And I honestly, that is something that's very interesting with all 6 people recruited, because that's the one major story mission I did do, is I did go get Liara immediately. This is also, by the way, another thing that shocks me is how fast you can move on your romances. Like, we did one story quest in the intros, and already I've Liara, who is 100 and something, is already like, yes, Shepard, I feel this strange chemistry to you. Are you also attracted to me? Should we hang out? I'm like, wow, this is moving very fast. We've literally known each other for like maybe 2 hours of game time. Tops. Most of which has been spent with me riding in my tank in the middle of nowhere.
Hey,
but okay, I guess I did save you from a Prothean death trap and exploding, I guess.
I'm all about Tali, by the way. I love Tali.
Yeah, sadly, Tali is not a possible female romance, so you got to be male ship to do that.
Yeah.
I would, if I was male Shepard, I would absolutely do that, because I love Tali to death. She's a great character. Much hugs. And I do appreciate that if you don't romance either of them, that in 3, she and Garrus end up together.
That's a great couple.
Yeah. It's a great moment too. I think you go into the forward weapons bay in 2, and you find them fucking making out with Tali still in her mask. Like they're just in a close embrace, and they kind of press breath. Shepard? I'm like, hey, what's going on here? What's the absence?
I'm sorry, I'd just be like honestly, no. Fun fact, Tali and Garrus were usually my go-to party in 1 and 2.
Nah, they're great.
I love them.
They got a lot of flexibility as well. I will eternally shout out to Garrus because
Garrus is
when I
bro.
did play FemShep in 2, I did try the Garrus romance, and then when you get to 3, you can just be like, hey, that was just kind of a normal because you can set up your backstory and choose who you romance in there. But if you pick Liara, for instance, for 1, she's only in the Shadowbreaker DLC stuff for 2. And you can like reaffirm your affection or whatever, but she's not like a normal romance option.
Yeah.
So like I hooked up with Garrus, and then we get to 3, and you do a walk and talk, and he's asking because Liara's back in the picture, and he's like, hey, so where do we stand? Is it casual? And I'm like, maybe it was just like a one-time thing, and he's like, all right, cool, whatever, Shepard. Want to go shoot beer bottles? Garrus is just eternally a bro. I love that boy. He's great.
Oh, he's great.
He's
I want you to do calibrations
the
all
dialogue
day.
writing in 1, by the way, still chef's kiss. My only complaint, like I said, is not even a complaint. It's just so weird in the context of the game time. I'm like, wow, you can move fast on romance. Like you can start hitting on people right away.
Oh man,
Ken's already getting confused. He's like, hey, Shepard, are we a thing? And I'm like, whoa, moving a little fast there, Chief. We've only been through like 2 life or death situations.
suspension bridge is in effect. But no, hearing you talk about it, it's like, man, I do miss Mass Effect. Because like I said, I never played 3. Like, I never, like, I don't know why I never did, but... Like, I never had the
I
opportunity.
assume it was probably the initial kerfuffle.
Yeah, probably. So,
and I will say, Legendary Edition is probably the best way to play everything, because it's going to have all that sweet, sweet DLC. There's going to be Mass Effect 2 and 3 DLC I never played, that I'm going to finally get to play when I get to those games. It's going to be interesting. Like, I never got around to buying Arrival or Omega, I think, for 2. And I never did the Leviathan DLC for 3, even though I know that's story important. I was all about that Citadel DLC, because that was the last thing BioWare did for the core Mass Effect trilogy, and you can fucking tell. It's one of those DLCs. Like, it all takes place before the climax, because the way the climax of 3 is written is it has to end the whole game. It's like Fallout New Vegas that way. But the Citadel DLC has you, like, before your final mission, you go to a fucking room party. You get an apartment, and, you go hang out in the Citadel with all your friends. You throw a fucking party in your apartment. You get to hang out with everybody from all the previous games and the new games. You get, like, individual moments with all the characters. You also get a completely absurd plot, to spoil it slightly, where Cerberus has made an actual evil clone of your Shepard, who is the final boss of the DLC. The evil clone of you has taken over the Normandy, and you have to sneak aboard your own ship and fight yourself. It's great. No, it's so meta, and it was such a good final note to the series. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Mass Effect, and I'm finding that the way the smaller missions are set up, it's very easy to pick up and put down. You can go to a planet, you can explore a system, and I love space so much, guys. I just love going to planets and seeing, like, ooh, what's this one about? Oh, this is, pulses from a red giant make it super hot. Half of its lifespan. That's cool. Oh, I can land here and drive around. Like, I love all that little stuff. All the cool sci-fi tech shit.
I remember I drove one of my friends mad because I actually sat down and read everything in the fucking codex.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I fucking love the codex. I love that some of the codex entries are narrated.
Yeah.
The Asari are. Yes, thank you. No, it's great. Love it. That was what that's what I think really sold me on 2, was because of the access to the codex. I could catch up on all the lore I didn't have from the first game, because that's all in the codex anyway. I mean, there is an interesting interaction on the Citadel when you get there. You can go next door to the Volus and Elcor ambassador, and, like, it's a little awkward for Shepard to be like, hey, what's your species story? But, it kind of works. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. The core gameplay is pretty normal. I feel like I'm kind of mostly hitting people with hammers, not scalpels so far as an infiltrator. It's like, okay, do overload, you explode, I hide behind some cover, I shoot you in the face with my sniper rifle. My party members do something. I did have to set them to powers whenever the fuck they feel like, because the default is defensive. And I'm like, all right, you guys aren't killing enough dudes. Please throw mind bullets and set people on electricity and shit faster. I do also think the powers start to get a little more robust in 2. Non-biotic powers, actually. Like, your tech powers in 1 are just like, ooh, shield boost, ooh, dampening, sabotage, overload. In 2 is when you get access to, cryo and the fire overload effects and stuff. I also feel like the game is a little too heavy on the giving you new weapons all the time. That's definitely something that I think 2 does a lot better with like the different weapon models. Because I feel like every encounter I'm picking up like 6 guns, most of which I barely understand how they're better than the current guns I have.
Yeah.
It's a little tedious, but I know my groove in the gameplay, and it's not like it's super hard or anything. So I'm having fun, and it's interesting to see where the gameplay at least improved in the sequels, and I can see why the first game's still so beloved, because the core plot and character writing is there, and it really sells this game. Immediately you start up, Joker's there, he's cracking wise. I'm like, hey, Joker, hey. This will get way funnier in 2 when you have a straight man to bounce off of.
And then you'll fall in love.
And then it's going to get kinky in 3.
Giggity!
But yeah, no, like it's a very good release for them to do, to bundle all 3 together and to let you just, have at it with all the content and everything. It'll be pretty cool to get into it. And keep track of all this stuff. I'm actually, I find it kind of interesting. There are some tropes which are so obvious, like when BioWare gives you Jenkins in the opening fight, and you're like, this motherfucker dead. You're dead, son. There's no fucking way they give me the most generic ass named Marine and send me on a new mission, and you're not a dead motherfucker. But I was quite surprised that the other Turi Inspector died, and Saren just caps him to let you know how bad a dude he is, and you're like, damn, he dead.
Yeah, he dead.
I'm also not shocked. The Council are huge assholes right from the start, as always.
Yep.
I enjoy yelling at them. So much yelling. I don't really. This is the beauty of the Mass Effect, is you can do the quote unquote paragrade. You can play in between the two. I haven't really felt where this Shepard lies, because on the one hand, Paragon, togetherness, unity is usually pretty good, but sometimes you just be like, yo, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing to me?
Sometimes you just need to shoot somebody.
Yeah, And I love that BioWare has this writing. I love it in Dragon Age 2 when the murder hobo option is literally just skip to shoot. It's like, it's not even a dialogue option. It's just
bang,
shoot him.
I love
Sometimes
it.
I do it. Sometimes I'm just like, bang. I'm tired of you.
It's so great.
And DA2 is so fun for that, because they not only color code, but they literally graphically tell you like what dialogue is what, and like they have different symbols. Like sometimes the neutral dialogue is just the funny, but sometimes the neutral dialogue is actually like being a moderate. Usually it's being funny. Playing Funny Hawk is the best. But like, you can see where BioWare really, really narrowed down their dialogue writing style.
Mm-hmm.
And it honestly, it makes me kind of, miss the golden age of the BioWare RPG. And I do hope that Dreadwolf can really recapture some shit there.
Yeah.
Because damn, these games are so good. Like I said, even if the gameplay in 1 is kind of, I would honestly say kind of middling. Like there's some aspects they still haven't polished, and I know that they polish in later games because I've played the sequels already. But the core writing is so good, and the remaster on the Legendary Edition is pretty good. Like everybody's animations seem to flow pretty good. There's very decent resolution, but it keeps all the art style stuff. It's fun. I'm having a lot of fun times. I'll probably go back to playing it more tonight when we're done here.
Yeah.
All right, well, that 30 minutes or so was, I think, most of what I wanted to hit up this week. New games and stuff, playing stuff.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll pivot to me for a little bit. So, unfortunately, I haven't done much of this week on account of being sick, but I have interesting habits when I'm sick. When I'm sick, usually one of the things that I always do is I always binge Netflix. That's what I like to do. I find stuff, I just monotonously watch it, and bwong. That's right.
Flick my arm. What I was gonna say though is I'm very similar. If I get ill, as I will usually sit down and binge a lot of TV.
So I did knock out a few of the Netflix series I've been meaning to watch, and one that I wasn't. So first off, I did finally actually get to watch Yasuke. That was actually pretty good. I'm not sure how I feel about this Netflix things of only making like 6 episodes of things though. Like 6 episodes. That's like fucking 22 minutes like each usually. That's
yeah,
what
it's not.
it's
a
like.
lot.
It's like a movie almost. Like it's like maybe like 2 to 2.5 hours. That's a fucking movie.
Yeah, that would be 132 minutes, which would be just a.
Yeah.
Not counting obviously that the literal playtime of the episode does include closing and opening credits.
Yeah. So, but from what I said, I did like Yasuke. Like I watched it in English because that's what because that's what they said the original was. I mean, that's how I am. If it say it's the original, I listen to it. But they did something that I found was interesting in Yasuke. Even though it was in English, once in a while they just switch to fucking Japanese. I'm just all like, interesting. It's like I don't know,
Certainly
like
an interesting stylistic choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's LeSean Thomas, fucking, gang. Well, I won't say he's gangsta, but black ass man who loves to make anime. So I'm just like, nah, if you want to do something weird, man, do it. But I liked it. I did have a little bit. It wasn't exactly what Yasuke wasn't exactly what I thought it was. It was actually post, Sengoku era bullshit. It wasn't, they showed a lot of like the stuff like from like Nobunaga finding Yasuke and like and flashback and stuff. Nah, it was just a really, really wild fucking story, and it had interesting things. Like apparently the Mongolians brought fucking mechs to Tsushima, and then Japan was all like, "Sweet."
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. So yeah, no, there's fucking giant robots, magic, fucking. I'm just like, okay, this is cool, I guess. But no, it was pretty good. It was pretty bloody, and everyone just fucking died. God damn it. Hang on one second. I have to save the party.
Yeah, you do that. I need to stop the audio recording of this for a second.
Go for it.
So we're gonna, if you're still listening to the live stream version, we're gonna stop the audio recording for a second because my computer did freeze up for a half sec there. So some of what we said in the last minute or so might be a little blurred. Actually, probably a minute. I will let it catch up.
God damn it.
Ooh boy, Audacity's full blown not responding. Good. Luckily, if it crashes, I can recover. Okay, all right.
All right, well, we fucked up.
All right, so we did lose a chunk of the audio.
Oh no.
During that brief period where my thing froze up. It was for about 15 seconds.
I don't think we necessarily lost anything that bit particular. Just me yelling about Yasuke and Mongol mechs.
Yeah, that part I think got in, and then right after that it cut off. But I'll resume the recording now. We're back. Sorry, Audacity got a little confused and ate about 15 seconds of audio there. But we were talking about Mongolian mechs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this comment got in, and I don't have time to check. But I was just saying I don't remember that from Ghost of Tsushima.
I don't. No. Neither do I. But it is what it is. Like I said, it was a pretty good story. I liked it. I don't know if anything else will come of it, but it is what it is. Something else I watched, Eden. It was it's just a show about a girl in the future raised by robot parents. And after, robots have taken over the world and have turned Earth into paradise because there are no humans to fuck it up. And she goes on I don't necessarily want to call it a quest, but kind of a trip, I guess is the best way to put it. To find out what happened to the humans and, maybe bring them back. That was good. Also, that was like 6 episodes, and I'm just like, But I liked it. Another thing I finally watched the final season of Castlevania. It was good. I like it.
I need to watch all of Castle. at some point. But it's on my Netflix list.
It's all there. It's technically complete. They
No, I know.
They
I gotta get in there. I just haven't had the time to watch TV lately.
Yep. Oh, but fun fact, they have said that they are now working on a spin-off taking place a generation later in France.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. But Castlevania is good. It's so weird to see things that like people might where am I going? Where am I going? Right here? Right here. It's so weird to like live in a time where like oh, how do I want to say this? So you can see it from the get-go that while Castlevania has definitely like anime inspirations and influences, it's still something that is very much a Western thing. And I really hope that we actually start to get more animations in this style where it's animation, but it's still like you have people like screaming fuck and
more original animation productions that are actually like getting in there.
Yeah, because
oh wow, this was animated by Frederator.
Yeah,
which is very interesting because they you may remember them from many classic Nickelodeon cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly Odd Parents, Chalk Zone, My Life as a Teenage Robot. Then they went to Cartoon Network and they did Adventure Time.
Yeah. Like, they've been slowly working their way, like, up and up. Like, with things, but... Yeah, no, like, Castlevania is quirky, funny, but also action-packed and violent, and is not afraid about being mature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
so they. Sorry, just I read a new fact. The production team did include the production team that joined them included Powerhouse Animation Studios, which is an Austin-based animation studio that happened later. But the production team included members who had actually worked in the anime industry. That's why it has where they got a lot of their strong anime-esque look, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's like something that like, oops, I messed up there. And that's something I'm like is in because me, I love anime, I love watching anime, but not everything necessarily has to be anime.
No.
So that's why like one of the reasons like I like Castlevania so long is it's something that seems that you can feel the anime influences and inspirations from, but it is still something firmly set in the West. It's with Western choreography, mindset, scripting, voice work, all that stuff.
Hey, also, I do want to throw out there, like, listen, love the Japanese, great work.
Yeah,
but their understandings of European-ass like gothic horror and fantasy not always the best. Not always the best. Having played a few Castle games, some of which are also more anime-esque than others. That's definitely something to be said for the fact that Dracula was written by a Westerner. Was Bram Stoker? Where was Bram Stoker? He was Irish. That's what I thought, but I did not want to throw it out there. Yeah, so like that kind of original stuff, and also let's be real, we're not afraid over here to do weird shit with Dracula these days.
No.
Empire the Masquerade, anybody? But yeah, no. So that's good. I think the anime-esque style firmly established it as okay with Avatar. And Avatar and Korra as a sequel, worked with studios which worked directly with the Japanese industry as well. Studio Mir, who definitely worked on Korra, but I also think worked on some of the original Avatar stuff. They did some of the secondary animation for Naruto, for instance, stuff like that. So, yeah, no, it's a thing.
No, it's good.
Love to see it.
No, I like it.
Volt. I haven't watched the second half of the final season of Voltron, and I've heard from people that it's not as satisfying a conclusion as it could be. So I'm not. I'm a little wary. But their animation quality for the Voltron remake series is in a similar vein to what you're talking about, where it's clearly Western sensibilities, but also very anime-esque. And some of those later seasons, it is pretty tight animation. Unfortunately, the giant robots are still CG, so. we deal with it. Anyway, you said you watched, what was it, like 4 things? 5 things? A lot of things.
A lot of things. So the final thing I watched was actually I watched both seasons of Love, Death, and Robots. And Omega, I'm going to highly recommend this to you because I think you will love it.
It is definitely in my Netflix queue. I just don't think I've got a lot of good shit in my queue that I have not got around. Like, I still haven't watched the 2nd season of Altered Carbon. I know you also yourself have not watched all of both those seasons. I need to watch Sex, Death, Decadent Robots. I've talked about how I need to watch Castlevania. I'm also, thanks to our favorite shilling source OSP, I need to go watch the She-Ra revamp series, which does not look super anime-esque, but also does have an evil cat girl. So, how not anime-esque is it?
No, I do just want to think about, like honestly, anime, like, Japanese anime, like, honestly, I think has really done a lot for just the global view of animation as a whole.
Well, yeah, there is, this is actually a TV trope name, the Animation Age Ghetto. This was a real thing for a long time because of Walt Disney. That animation in the West got heavily pigeonholed into being
children
minimum family stuff, if not outright kid stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, while we did break that in the early 2000s, we broke that with Shrek, which meant that a lot of animation went to the, and this was also all 3D, CG animation, went the crass comedy route.
Yep.
Also, gonna be real, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was one of the letters in DreamWorks SKG, is kind of a petty asshole. So he designed a lot of DreamWorks early productions as cheap ripoffs of Disney Studios projects he knew about because he used to work at Disney. The origins of like DreamWorks and the competition between them and Disney is really fascinating and also very infuriating sometimes. But that I think it really started to like leave obscurity in the early 2000s era with the first Matrix movie, because the Wachowskis were not shy about how the Matrix was heavily anime inspired. Mostly Ghost in the Shell, but a lot of other titles as well. Like very anime-esque in Japanese and some of its visual storytelling and stuff. And then that just combined with the fact that the turn of the millennium turned into the nerd revolution, like really put anime to the forefront. And like I said, Avatar was another big breakout in anime-esque art style, you know? Those guys were very clearly inspired by Japanese anime and, Chinese wuxia films, and they were not shy to put that shit in their animation.
Yeah, actually, we're actually starting to see a lot more in the way of Chinese animation now, actually.
Breaking into that studio space.
Yeah. Like, you can actually see it a lot on Netflix and whatnot. And I was actually looking at my anime list of releases. There's, like, they're not full-on series, but there's a lot of, like, ONAs and OVAs, which are just Chinese titles. I'm just, like, wild.
Yeah, they're getting out there.
Well, like I said,
there are Chinese web and light novels now that are circulating. I believe there's a China exclusive, like, Star Wars light novel in the High Republic series that's, like, releasing. That sounds a little weird, but hey, Disney will do anything for that market dollar.
But where I was going, but yeah, no, just like in the past like 10 to 15 years, just international like media has just become so, what's the word I want to use, like where it's just bled into our everyday and we really don't think much about it.
Yeah, I guess it's just become more integrated, maybe.
Yeah, integrated. Cause like shoot, I can talk about my mom. My mom loves BTS, the Korean fucking boy band. 50 something year old mother loves these guys from Korea. People always talk.
I do not understand K-pop stands, but they are out there.
They are out there.
Hey, I mean, I can't throw stones because I listen to J-pop.
Yeah, like
remember when we were the weirdos for listening to foreign music?
Yeah, but like that's not the thing anymore. I mean, there's probably some people who still think it's weird, but no longer in the. Oh, I feel.
But when BTS is out here, out here breaking fucking records with YouTube videos,
Fuck, like who made Parasite? Was it Korean?
Yeah, that was a Korean film.
Yeah, Parasite like won the fucking Oscars for Best Picture, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I don't pay
I
attention.
remember, like I said, but it made fucking waves.
But it was yeah, it made waves. It was a huge deal movie.
Yeah, then we have like like anime films like Demon Slayers, which even in its fucking limited ass run, apparently did very well in the U.S., which fucking kind of shocked me a little. What it sells.
We can also be reasonably certain that because they announced an encore of Heaven's Feel when it was available, that probably did decent enough, and there was enough outcry that Aniplex was like, "Oh shit, there's enough market for this. We can bring this back."
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if maybe people didn't go to see it, people were willing to pay to go see it enough that they were like, shit, we need to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big market shit. It's very interesting. It's also very interesting because at least it used to be a while back in Japan, and I think it still is. Like, if you listen to, like, you can listen to, like, VTubers and other personalities and some people. And I follow some, Japanese people on YouTube and stuff as well, or people living in Japan. Watching actual anime movies is also still a little bit of like a taboo, childish thing. Like, it's not something you necessarily go do casually. It's a nerd thing there still as well. So it's very interesting to see that kind of bleed out over here and be like, yeah, no, it's still definitely a nerd thing, but that's not such a dirty word anymore.
Well, like they were talking about this on the stream of how, like, in Japan it's still considered a social faux pas to go out in public in your cosplay, but over here it's like, nah, we'll go to fucking Denny's, y'all, just full gear. No one gives, and no one.
Yeah, that's what we call that not American exceptionalism. That's our Western arrogance. In Japan, you would be socially embarrassed if you went outside and disrupted the social norms by being dressed like a weirdo. In America, we're like, fuck, I don't give a fuck what other people think. You know how many hours it took me to put this on? I'm not changing. Like, that's how we operate over here. And like, no, that's correct. We don't care about social appearance anymore. Not especially because of social media and stuff has made that, in its sense, its own marketing. Sometimes I do wonder about that kind of thing, like the whole thing with what the fuck Twitch's marketing actually is, right? Like, I think there's a Twitter for like. There's like a Twitch bans Twitter, and I saw somebody screen cap it, and the profile pictures are all chicks wearing cat ears and stuff, and you're like, okay, so people are getting banned because they're cutting the limit on the softcore and the fucking hot tub memes and stuff, and I'm like, all right, maybe this is a little too marketable. What does this say about people that, like, they're so starved for social interaction that they're like, this is okay, I'll give big money to this? I'm like, listen, I understand closeness, and I'm not against people, doing whatever they need to get that hustle. I'm just asking about why there's a market. I do not deny if there is a market that you should sell. I'm just saying, like, this is a little weird. This is still weird to me.
Oh, hang on one second.
Yep. Let's see. Can I vamp about something while he's hanging on? We're talking about Western stuff, but like he was talking about Netflix. I have not been watching anything lately. I do have a big, long Netflix queue to get through, of which a lot of things, but yeah, it's a big deal. I think, honestly, the reason why we started to see the shift towards more anime style and more anime becoming acceptable in the West is because our own cartoons, even though they were in that, simple-ass Flash style stuff, started to get more mature and get more audience appeal. My Little Pony was obviously a big source of that, but honestly, so probably was Adventure Time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, honestly, I'm gonna put that ball firmly in the court of just Adult Swim in general. Like,
yeah, Adult Swim animations as well. They definitely cornered, like we said, the cross comedy market on a lot of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of just weird shit.
Yeah, because they would fucking, like, they'd show, like, really good animes for, like, the first half, and then they just have their weird ass shit in the second half.
They're literal made in Flash cartoons.
Mm-hmm. But because, like, God, I remember you start off with, like, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun. They'd have Inuyasha on there. Fucking Fooly Cooly.
They loved running Fooly Cooly. They would always, like, at least once a year, they would be like, yo, we're bringing back Fooly Cooly for, like, 6 weeks. Goodbye.
And then, like...
that's where I first saw Evangelion.
Yeah.
Which I have my own thoughts and feelings on, but, it's definitely a serious subject matter to touch on, Evangelion.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, no, it's like... Adult Swim was, like, one of those things that really taught me, like, no, Anime isn't just for like little kids. It's not all Pokemon and Digimon and shit.
Honestly, and sometimes I feel like the treatment on Adult Swim gave some shows a better shake than they had in Japan, because some anime gets like primetime slots. Adult Swim was the middle of the fucking night, right?
Yeah.
This was actually I believe this was a concern with Code Geass. Its second season got moved up to a primetime slot, so they had to tone down some of their directorial decisions. Whereas it was all shown on Adult Swim in the middle of the night, so people swearing, the blood, the mind control, all the stuff was like, whatever, dude. It's midnight. Nobody's watching. And the fact that you can translate a occasional rude swear or a rude pronoun in Japanese to like damn or bastard just really livens up a lot of anime and makes it seem more mature.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So it's like the history of animation and where. Oh shit! What are people doing? What are people doing? What are people doing? They're doing stuff.
I didn't know that about Naruto Uncut. I know they did that for they did DBZ Uncut. I don't remember if it was actually on Adult Swim, but it was late night on Cartoon Network.
Actually, I think it was late night. I think it was after Adult Swim. Actually, like 2 in the morning, maybe.
Might have been after the block. Cause those are kind of shows where like there's a lot of blood and stuff. I remember watching some Toonami era Naruto, and like Naruto's already, because that's always happens with TV version, the TV animation from the manga is already de-bloodied, but then they go so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can see it as well because I've watched JoJo certain places. Also, actually, I forgot to shout this out last week, but I also do want to shout out. I was turned on by some of the JoJo fanatics in our fan base to a podcast called Dogs Must Die, a bizarre podcast. The name comes from the fact that, JoJo kills a lot of dogs. Oh, Rocky, why do so many dogs die in this series? Anyway, basically, it's a weekly podcast. You can search for it on YouTube or they're on Spotify. And every week they have watched 3 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and they talk about it. They are currently in the middle of Stardust Crusaders, which to me, just listening back, has been really good because, man, JoJo is a wild series.
Yeah, it is.
But they also reminded me about this, and I didn't think about it at the time, but like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was a series that for certain seasons had, TV censorship. They have that infamous black boxing on stuff. I remember watching... Crunchyroll would have to be whatever was originally on TV. That is their unfortunate weakness, is they only show you the simulcast TV stuff.
Yep.
I think bits of when I watched part 4 on CR and stuff through them and aping their stuff was definitely like, oh, hey, there's a lot of weird black shadows over stuff. Like it's so interesting how this censorship aspect works on stuff and how it can be differently received different places,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas over in the States, we censor our own stuff. Or, you get the like you didn't name 4Kids, but you talked about anime being for little kids. The 4Kids style dubbing or the Fox Kids kind of things, where like, just the rampant localization, censoring, and cutting of things to like, not just make things make sense for a Western audience, but to like dumb things down and clean them up for a Western child audience. Like, kids can't follow some of this shit.
Oh, jelly donuts.
I'm about to say, the jelly donuts, the pointless edits. You don't need to localize jelly donuts, especially not considering, there's a lot of different stuff going on. Yes, the pirate rap, or the fact that all the guns in One Piece, which, by the way, there are a lot of guns in early One Piece, were all replaced with squirt guns, or somebody pull me that screen cap, the most ludicrous edit, where in, like, the first, like, 2 or 3 episodes in the original anime and manga, because I am vaguely familiar with very early One Piece, which is not saying anything in terms of familiarity with One Piece. But it's some guy is holding a gun to the weird tag-along kid who goes away for probably 5 million episodes and then comes back and he's swole for some reason. One Piece, I'm onto you. But he gets a gun held to his head. In the 4Kids version, they edit out the gun and replace it with the guy is holding a spring-loaded mallet with a trigger. Just because, what the fuck? Yeah, Sanji's smoking gets edited. That's also a thing that happened in JoJo as well, because Jotaro smokes like a chimney, considering he's 16. But it was in Japan in the 80s. It makes perfect sense.
Jotaro is that fucking Boncho fucking stereotype, literally, like a
yeah,
high
and
school
I was reminded because listening to this podcast, Dogs Must Die, they talk about how when you first meet Jotaro, he's kind of an asshole. Like, he tells his mom to shut the fuck up and stuff. Thank you. Somebody in patron chat in Discord grabbed the screen grab. It is a ludicrous edit. It is so bad. But, like, this doesn't, like compared to, like, Jonathan Joestar, who is a sweet summer child, a perfectly good English gentleman, and then Joseph Joestar, who is a troll, but did they edit out the sword in Germany? What the fuck? Naruto. Also, by the way, Naruto just can't air in England, right? Because they have this thing about sensationalism about violence and ninjas specifically, even though ninja's a fake word. That last edit's not true.
That can't be true. No, I refuse to believe it.
It says 4Kids, which 4Kids didn't do the Naruto dub. That's a joke about what they would do. I also don't expect that they would. They might, like, repaint Gaara's sigil, but it's not really a big deal. The regular dub got away with it, just being like, because he's got the character for love literally scarred into his face. Don't ask me why it's still red. But the Shadow Realm, that's because the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga and even the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime are very violent. They love their death games.
It's very metal.
Yeah, it's very fucking metal. It's arguably more absurd and funny when they're literal death games. But no, some of the times, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. I've heard that joke before. The Yu-Gi-Oh edits are kind of funny. The one that still gets me is they're the mass duelists, and they do, at least, I will say, the Yu-Gi-Oh dub did stretch their legs with, like, coming up with names for characters who didn't have names. Like, they called in the Japanese, they were just called the Labyrinth Brothers. They call them Para and Dox, even though that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, other than that they riddle. They also named the two masked rare hunters, Umbra and Loomis, when in the original Japanese they're just like White Mask and Dark Mask. Also, by the way, Rare Hunters is an edit. They were called ghouls in English in the Japanese version, which sounds very metal and fits Yu-Gi-Oh's dark occult aesthetic, but in English just doesn't have the same ring to it, right?
All right.
That's an okay localization. They did their work, but for that duel with the masked duelists, they're like, we have placed bombs on the skylight that if your life points at 0, they will explode, and then you will be sucked into the Shadow Realm after you fall down several stories. As opposed to the original Japanese version, which is just the bomb will go off when your life points at 0, and the glass will shatter, and you'll fall 10 million stories through this mall filled with people. What? Yeah, the invisible guns, which sadly ruins a great Kaiba moment, because in the manga and anime, Seto Kaiba throws a fucking card at a guy, and it jams his gun's hammer. Which, by the way, I do believe somebody on the internet did do a test. The hammer of a gun will actually probably misfire if you jammed a Yu-Gi-Oh cardboard into it. Don't do that, though. That's bad for the cards. So don't fire your gun. That's bad for the gun, too. It's basically, none of this experiment is cool. But yeah, no, the edit nonsense is crazy. And it is a thing that was very popular at the early period of anime dubbing, right? And then, like you said earlier, it's slowly fallen out of favor as Western cartoons got more mature. Like I said, My Little Pony found a more adult audience. Avatar was, also very popular with a wide age range. Adventure Time similarly kind of came into that. A lot of shows, honestly, a lot of shows. So much so that now animation is straight up a proper multi-age genre. It is not like, oh, that's animated, that must be for kids.
Yeah.
I suspect some old people still think that way, but in general, like, the actual, like, people producing, localizing, funding stuff are like, oh no, we can make animation that's for adults specifically, or for, young adults, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the plot episodes of Pokemon had to be cut out entirely because they were too spicy for kids to censor. Though one of them was also the infamous Porygon episode, because that did cause some epileptic seizure problems in Japan. So they just skipped them. Gosh, that's such an early Pokemon thing. I can't imagine a mainstay Pokemon like referencing guns at all now. That just seems so alien in the world of Pokemon. Also, especially when you have a Pokemon who is just a gun. I'm sure. There are many Pokemon that are... There are Pokemon that are literally swords. Come on. And if you don't think I'm not going to grab my Honedge and beat a dude up, you're wrong.
Honedge, let's fuck him up!
Yeah, that must have been the Safari Zone one. I'm guessing the Ranger had a gun in the original, and they just were like, nah, not important. Which is weird, because the like, 30 Tauros thing comes back a lot. The fact that he has, like, 30 of those motherfuckers. Ash, you know you don't have to keep any of the Pokemon you catch in the Safari game, right? You can just let him go? Whatever. That kid's still 10.
He's still weird.
It's been 20 years. He's still 10, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, no, I saw the trailer for Power World. I'm excited. It's Pokemon, but with guns. And crafting.
Yeah, no, that's going to be pretty sick.
No, I'm excited for that. I'm going to play the fuck out of that. I know what I'm about.
We know what's up. That kind of reminds me of, honestly, Slime Rancher is only slime focused, but it's kind of a similar, like, weird aesthetic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you suck up slimes, and some of the slimes will hurt you, and then you can vomit out slimes. Some of the slimes are radioactive, you know. It's got some weird sci-fi type backing stuff, while also being about farming adorable slimes.
Slime market. But yeah,
we were in the middle of this talking about shit you watched on Netflix.
Yeah, I know, but I said it's good to talk about animation and stuff and whatnot. But mostly I was talking about Love, Death, and Robots. Guys, if you don't know what Love, Death, and Robots is, it's literally just a compilation. You guys remember the Animatrix? It's the fucking Animatrix. That's what it is. It's a collection of just short CG films from different studios, and they're usually involve love, death, love and or death and or robots. And it's great because it's, like I said, there's 2 seasons out right now. I think there's like, what, 20 films? They're each like 18 minutes long.
Yeah, it's a compilation of shorts, which has always been a really interesting thing. Like, that's something I am jazzed about in Star Wars terms, is they finally did the thing they should have done. They're doing a Star Wars Animatrix. They announced that last year. They're getting animation studios, including Japanese studios, to take a crack at Star Wars shorts, which I am sure will lead to some sick-ass animation.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, no, like...
By the way, the Japanese fucking love Star Wars. At the very least, they love old Star Wars. I don't know how they feel about other Star Wars stuff, but, you know, they love classic Star Wars because George Lucas was heavily influenced by Kurosawa.
But, yeah, no, so, like, they're only 18-minute shorts, so these studios literally are going all out with their fucking animation. There were several of these shorts where I'm like, are these real people or not? I can't necessarily tell.
Ooh, that's always spicy and that's the beauty of doing short films sometimes.
Yeah.
You can focus all your work into so little effort. Like I said, I watch a lot of like Corridor Crew and I listen to documentaries and stuff. When something like looks bad or looks rough, it is not usually a failure of the actual talent of the artists. Sometimes it is, and I feel like the people who are in the industry don't want to say that, but sometimes it's a failure of talent. But usually it's a failure of time and money. They just don't have the budget or the time to do the thing they want to do.
Yep.
So it comes out a little jank. This is for both digital effects and also physical effects, practical stuff, practical stunts, etc. Like, if you just give something, this is something I've really learned, like, in all aspects of media and my own life just following. If you just give something time, it's usually better than not giving it time. If you can afford to wait on a thing and let it kind of, like, all naturally shake out, it will be best. But unfortunately, sometimes you can't wait, you know. Talking about our favorite maligned game, Cyberpunk. Obviously, they had promises to keep to shareholders and stuff to get it out on last gen. They had to force the release, and it kind of fuckled them. But I think they probably had their hands tied. They tried to downplay how weird it would be. And honestly, the core game is okay. Like I said, I've never been super disappointed in that game. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait for them to get to those updates in 2022.
I would like... Oh, I still haven't got... That's the 3rd whistle. Still haven't fucking got one on myself. God damn it.
What are you looking for, Lucky? What ails you? What pains you in the MMO space today?
So, in Final Fantasy XIV, basically at the end of each expansion, there is basically something called Extreme Trials. Extreme Trials are basically the souped-up versions of boss fights. Because that's how Final Fantasy, your big boss fights are usually done in like 8 group parties. They usually feature a big, huge boss who has a bunch of mechanics and whatnot. At the end, they unlock the extreme version, which usually has a low chance of dropping a item, which gives you a mount. If you collect all the mounts from all the bosses, you then get a super mount. Now, note that these mounts are merely cosmetic, but they're fucking cool. Like the one for Stormblood, which one I'm working on right now, gives me a 9-tailed fox. I'm just all like, I want it.
That's pretty sick.
It is pretty sick. Now, but the thing is, wait, am I not attacking? I'm not attacking. That doesn't matter. But the thing is, usually you have to join, party finder groups, which are just a bunch of randos, which usually means that no one has the fucking thing. I'm about to get hit. And, so everyone has to roll for it, because that's what's the fair thing to do. You entrust your fate to a random number generator and hope for the best. Unfortunately, the random number generator is fucking bullshit, because I always roll super fucking low. I didn't roll super fucking low on that last one, but it still wasn't fucking plus 80. If you have like, gotta do the mechanics. Like if you have like an 80 plus, you generally have a good chance. Because I guarantee you, someone's getting 80 plus. And I'm just mad because, oh god, how many times have I run this? They do have a safety net. If you run it 99 times and don't get the fucking drop, you can just go buy it with the totems. But it's 99 fucking times.
That's a lot of runs, yeah.
That's a lot of runs. Each of one of these runs takes like 4 to 5 minutes, I want to say. Actually, fuck, I don't give a fuck. I'll actually search. Let's see, how many of these items do I have? I'm at 68 right now. I have run this 68 times.
Oof.
Just trying to get this fucking whistle. And in the time, like, I started doing this fight once, we started here, and 3 whistles have dropped. I'm just all like, why? Give me one. Now, shout out to the group here. They are doing what is commonly known as the polite thing to do is, when you get the whistle, don't just fucking up and leave. You know, hang out, let other people have a chance to get it. So, you know, at least 3 of these people have it. So every time a whistle drops, then, you know, it increases my chance. But it also increases the chance that everyone's just going to be like, nah, I'm fucking done. And then I have to start all over.
Yeah.
Because
if you're the last man standing in a large party, they'll be like, well, everybody else got it. Sorry. Bye.
Yeah, so it's just like, And then I join a new group where no one has the fucking whistle again, and it goes again. So I'm just all like, I am suffering. But like I said, they've dropped 3 whistles, and so we're actually having a fairly good drop rate for once. But yeah, no, that's what I'm about right now. What were we talking about before I got mad at birds?
Oh, we were just talking about animation and watching shit on Netflix.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, no. So, Love, Death, and Robots, it's really good. Like honestly, I feel like if you're gonna watch it, you're gonna start jonesing for that the Sprawl or even Eclipse phase. That's gonna put you in that kind of mood. Because there's some real... Oh, God, I wish I could remember the names. They all have little names. But there's one in particular where a guy basically does a hyperspace jump, but it goes wrong. I won't spoil the end of it, but I was all like, damn, that's some Eclipse phase as fuck shit right there.
Ooh, I love that stuff. Yeah, I have a lot of things. I will have to sit down and find some time to watch some TV sometime. But like I said, I am on some big gaming projects right now, like working on working my way through stuff. I'm sure I'll have the time because I've taken the time. I have sometimes taken the time when I shouldn't take the time, but you know how it be.
It be.
Maybe if I got to do some grinding on Gouda Gouda, I can watch some TV and stuff while I do it. Because I've burned through a lot of YouTube videos to watch. For instance, you know, like I said, I mentioned the Dogs Must Die podcast released every Monday. I did watch like all 15 episodes. However many episodes it took for them to get through it, 3 episodes a pop to get all the way through part 1, part 2, and part of the way into Stardust. Also, once again, that also still kills me sometimes. I'm like, wow, it is so weird to go from like part 1 and part 2 are an entire production season, and Stardust Crusader is 2 whole production seasons, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Anywho's. Maybe when they've cleared part 4 and they get to part 5, I will have my incentive to actually watch along with them. But yeah. I know yesterday you said you might want to look up some anime coming out, but I don't know if you did actually.
Oh, I
get
did.
in there.
I did.
Okay. I do know that some people did share with us some news that we are excited for because we're us.
Mhm.
That finally a second production season of Saga of Tanya the Evil is coming out.
Yes.
It has been a long time. We've talked before about why anime studios are like that, but it is definitely. It's been a while, and I'm glad to see it finally percolating.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. We're gonna get to some of the other shit because I haven't read them yet, but I do know that different stuff happens in the light novels. Maybe when the anime comes out, I'll pick those two up. Lucky got me the 2 volumes of light novels, like compilations that are sitting on my table.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you're not gonna go get lost in a box sometime. No, actually I'll be smart. I'll remember where I pack my shit. I'll pack old games and old books I don't need in different boxes.
Whenever you do movies, you just invite us them bookshelves.
Well, I will probably have to, because I don't know what my storage situation is, but I got a lot of crap. It's gonna go in a lot of boxes. Because my current room started with a lot of shelving, and then I added a desk with more shelving, so the stuff all got to go somewhere.
But yeah, unfortunately, oh shit, I can pull up the my anime list of summer 2021 anime.
I mean, like, well, this is a slightly loaded question because it's you, but were there any titles you remember that like stick out to you that you saw?
Oh yeah, no, plenty. Like, like I said, for one, we're getting the second season of as they like to call Destruction Flag Otome. Like I said, with the adventures of Catalina, our beloved Baccarina, will continue. Second season of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, also coming out.
It's been a while since those 2 series came out as well. Not as long as Tanya, but that's been a little bit of... Might have to go back and refresh myself on those series.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm also excited about the second season of Mrs. Kobayashi's Maid Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, to me talking about how much I love Kyoko and his ability to just combine like literally like the most freak flag of lewds and honest, heartwarming and deeply thought-provoking things. It's like it's one of the things like I love him to death for. Let's see here. There was actually a couple more. There's actually quite a few isekais coming out. One that I'm actually really excited for is How the Realist Hero Saved the Kingdom. The premise of this one is it's the usual standard is usually the usual standard fare. A man gets summoned to be a hero, but he says he's not gonna go fight. Instead, he says how the fuck are why is this kingdom like not doing well, and he basically takes over the kingdom and basically starts running politics and policies instead of actually fighting anything. So basically the king's all like, I really like I like the cut of your jib. Here, you become king now. Run shit. Here's my daughter.
Sorry to people listening to the audio version. I opened up a news article because I was browsing for tips and stuff, and it had an autoplay video not related to the article I opened. So you guys will, like me, be forever left with the headline, which is just TSR, the original gaming company of Dungeons & Dragons, has apparently relaunched as a new company. Cool. I'll find more about that later.
So, let's see here. Oh, I'm
trying to... Like he's thinking about stuff. I can remember some other TV. It's like, I do need to catch up on TV in general because I also need to catch up on my Disney Plus. I have not watched any of Bad Batch, and I know Loki has started. It's a couple episodes in. It's a little weird. I think it's on like Wednesday nights and Thursdays it premieres. I need to catch up, but I hear good things. I need to just sit down and find time.
Let's see here. I'm also excited for Girlfriend and Girlfriend, or Kanojo mo Kanojo. It's one of those...
Second version of that name sounds more familiar.
Mm-hmm. Sweet, another whistle. Will I get it this time? I rolled a 36! That's a big fat negative, Ghost Rider. Oh, I did get it.
Oh, wow. That's... How many people are in the party?
I gotta yell at people.
He has to yell. Yeah, I gotta catch stuff. Lucky's complaining about his luck, and this reminds me of my pull luck in a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately. I have not been getting a lot of the big chase cards in my last couple pack openings, and I did have to have a discussion with the lads about when I go off to record my segments about the fact that they've already started all their drafts off camera, and then they have them all done, and they start to trading while I'm away, and then by the time I get there, nobody wants any of the cards I did pull to trade to get shit I actually need. So we had a little conversation about that. We decided to shuffle stuff around. I'll do some stuff ahead of time. They'll be nicer about waiting for me. But if Lucky has finished his yell, we can continue.
Yeah.
I was just asking how many people were in your party, because I was wondering like how low everybody else must have rolled then if you were the one who got it.
Yeah, no, I was actually talking to people. Apparently, there was only 4 people left, including me. And apparently, yeah, no, everyone else just rolled under 36.
Rip.
That is bullshit.
But you got it.
I got it, but like I said, like, you do the nice thing, because we only need 3 more whistles, and then everyone else will have it, so...
Do you get one every time you finish the boss?
No, it's a chance.
Okay.
That's why we're trying to huff it out. But, so, there's a couple other isekai ones I'm excited about. Fuck, I actually have to look up the name for it. What's it called? Ah, here it is. It's Seirei Gensoki, excuse me. I've read a bit of the light novel, and I like it, but I'm just kind of curious how the adaptation will turn out, because that's always the thing. Like, because, like I said, I try not to be elitist, but usually if I watch a... oh, we're going that one? I'll do this one then. Usually when you go from, the written media to a visual media, things are, usually lost in translation and whatnot, especially if you try to do things, like expedite things. This is one of the reasons why I like 86 so much, is this entire first core has been, like, mostly just Volume 1, and from what I can understand, a bit of Volume 2. Like,
Yeah, we had to put this in perspective, we had a long conversation about the several different adaptations of Goblin Slayer, for instance.
Yeah.
Because the light novel to the manga to the anime were very different. And on the anime and the manga both skip over some of the deeper, like, inner thought periods done in the light novel. But the anime is also quite cleaned up compared to some of the manga and even some of the content in the original light novel in terms of its raw Goblin Slayeriness.
And so, like, because this is the thing, it's like, as awesome as visual media is, and I love visual media, especially, like, visual audio mediums, it's like, they only have so much time. Like, because, like, anime's expensive.
If you have the time and you have the money, you can do some really amazing stuff with visuals, but...
Like I said, you gotta remember, animation studios, like, they have to be booked, people have to be paid, voice actors and actresses need to be paid. Like, you can't do everything at a 1-to-1. Like I said, this is why 86, like, shocked me a lot of what they did. The final episode for this core, quote unquote, aired today, and they said they are gonna have a special. But we're gonna have to wait till the fall for the next core, which I'm excited for. So, like, they might be adapting, like, volumes, like, 2 and 3, and then ending with the epilogue of 1, because, in case you don't know, 86 is a little interesting, is that volume 1 is almost a complete story, if you want to call it that, and then, the volumes 2 and 3, basically handle some stuff that's involved in a time skip there. So, me and... yeah. Me and the lads are actually...
especially interesting because that was a recent trope talk, was time skips.
Yeah. So, me and the lads have been having... we're having a bit of a talk in anime, in games, earlier, about that, what we think they might do. But yeah, no, it's just like, again, like... I'm always a little leery about, like, more leery about adaptations nowadays, especially if you can, if I know the source material. Which is the problem, because I have actually read, like, quite a bit of a Seirei Gensoki. Why do I keep saying ko? What is my life? I'm dying.
Are you trying to reference Toho
No.
in Tokyo?
Maybe.
Listen, the mind does some weird edits sometimes. You know?
Mm-hmm. But this is also the thought process behind the next one that I'm like kind of excited for is I can't remember the English for it, but the Japanese is, because I'm looking at it, Suki ga Michibiku Isekai Dochu. Basically, it's another standard kind of isekai flair. Guy gets brought over, but the goddess, who brought him over is kind of a bitch, and says, "You're ugly. I don't fucking need you. Go live with monsters." And he goes lives with monsters, and it's neat. It's fun. It's a harem, but it's great. Let's see here. What other ones? Like I said, like those are the ones. Like you see, usually when I'm looking for things to watch in the next core, I usually just go with what I know from adaptations, like of manga stuff or things that I know, and then whatever else I'll just watch just to see what might surprise me.
Yeah,
like
just grab stuff, check it out.
Yeah. Like I know let's see here, Ryobokun of God of Storm. It's basically a it's a I guess an ecchi harem involving, you know, a 12-year-old and a bunch of adult women, but I'm like, okay. Kind of great, I guess. That's what you're into. Probably gonna watch it for reasons. I know what I'm about. We also got the second season of Magia Record coming out, which, if I remember correctly, yeah, I believe the Japanese version's still going. It's just the English version didn't pan out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. It basically they ran it too fast and
yeah, wasn't able to maintain interest. But
yeah,
the second
it went through invents too fast.
But I'm excited about that. Like I just love Shaft in general, so like again, like if UFO Table just has the sweetest CG, because that's actually what UFO Table is actually really, really good at. It's actually their CG, and whoever they hire for it, they're really wild. But Shaft's particular brand of insanity in their cinematography always gets me.
Mm-hmm.
So anything by Shaft, I'm just all like, yes, I am there. Oh, let's see here. I see. Oh yeah, I was talking about Kanajo Kanajo. Before I got on whatever topic I was.
You got your whistle.
Yeah, I got my whistle. That's what it was. So Kanajo Kanajo is technically a harem. Technically, basically, you have the male protagonist who's kind of stubborn, I guess is the best way to put it. He's not necessarily dense, but he's a little bit of an idiot, and he has a stubborn streak. Convinces finally the person that he's been liking forever to go out with him, but another girl who was really, really into him confesses to him, and he just has that kind of love at first sight kind of thing. He's like, oh no, I love her. And so what does he go do is he basically goes to his first girlfriend and is like, hey, can I have 2 girlfriends? And
only in fiction.
And she, very particularly is like, no. And he's like, please, no, please. And he finally gets her to kind of begrudgingly agree to this somehow. And the story is about him dealing with this and the fact that they consider it to be two-timing, which I don't consider. If both of them know of each other and they're okay with it, it's not two-timing, people. That's how it works. But
yeah, it's not a two-timing thing. It's a slightly awkwardly consenting polyamory.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't want to say, just in case anybody wonders, I am not against the concept of polyamory, but that when you're talking about a high school setting, of course, they'd be like, fuck no. People
No.
don't know relationships.
People need to like I say you need to know a lot about yourself, and you need to know a lot about your partners to actually make a polyamorous relationship work. But the funny thing is throughout the series, more girls start falling in love with the dude, but he's like, no, I got 2 already. I can't have any more. Fuck off.
Oh, thank God he's sensible about it.
Yeah, no, because he's basically like, yeah, no, I genuinely love these 2 girls, but I'm not in it for a harem. I just generally love my 2 girlfriends. So like, he has to like there's this one girl who's like a YouTuber who's like constantly chasing him. He's like, you're like, fuck off, no, I'm not into you like that. So it's kind of it's both I guess it's the best way to put it is it's a deconstruction of the harem trope.
It sounds like it. Like, and I was gonna say this earlier. I'm kind of glad we are in a space now where you can, like, the harem is such an established concept, and it became a genre as a result of establishing a concept, that we have reached such a level of maturity and saturation in the genre that people can just do weird shit.
Yeah, no, like, oh god, something that I wish would get an anime adaptation is I can't remember the name, but it's something and the 100 girlfriends that really love you, which is another harem, but it's the opposite. It's actually extreme. Like, basically, a dude's been trying to get a girlfriend. He just had 100 failures, so he goes praise to a goddess of, or was it god or goddess of luck. He was like, oh yeah, no, we actually fucked up with your love future. You are actually supposed to actually do this, so we'll fix it. We'll give you we'll fix it. We'll reverse it. And so basically, there's going to be 100 girls that fall in love with him. And I'm all like, this is so ridiculous. I love it, because it's actually very wholesome. But yeah, no, it's just that point, because like the cute high school, high school like harem, kind of like romance comedies has been like a huge thing since. Well, I can remember mostly from like the 2000s. I think that's where. Oh shit!
Yes, it was definitely. I think one of the big ones was. Make sure I'm remembering it right. I would hate to fuck up the title at this point, but reasonably certain. Yes. Yeah, I think one of the big ones was Love Hina.
Yeah,
which I have read because Ken Akamatsu is pretty cool. Also read all of Nejima. But like that, I think was a big one that like set up this concept of like, because that had a lot of the early hallmarks where it was like, okay, there's this guy, he's got one girl he likes, but he made a vague childhood promise and he can't remember which fucking girl it is, so any of these girls could be the promised girl, and they're all kind of into him. It even had the classic setup where it's like, what was it? I think it was an inn run by his aunt or something.
Yeah.
It was like turned into a girls' dorm, and he needed a place to crash because he was a Ronin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nisekoi was another big one.
I mean, there have been harem elements in other mangas. Like, you could argue Ranma 1/2 has harem elements.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I don't think Ranma gives a shit about most of his harem most of the time. He wants martial arts fights.
And not to be a girl.
Martial arts fights. And he wants martial arts fights. Yes, and not to be a girl. Like, there have been harem elements for a long time. Somebody even joked about, Tale of Genji counts as a harem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the Tale of Genji's about necessarily, but definitely elements there. But yeah, it was definitely like, I think like a late 90s into early 2000s thing where like this concept of doing a slice of life rom-com or romantic drama, even bordering on dramedy sometimes, about like one dude in a situation with a lot of single women, one of whom is almost assuredly the girl of his dreams or his childhood marriage promise, or not really his sister, but she's actually adopted. All kinds of those dumb stuff, right? Like, that really started to crystallize in that period and then became way too oversaturated and went out of style, and now has kind of died down to a recurring theme.
Yeah.
But not as crazy oversaturated as, I think... I don't know if we've hit peak yet, but like we're in the time period where that is true for isekai. Like the last decade has been really about that. Like,
oh yeah,
It's really popped off of that, and it's becoming oversaturated in parts, and we're reaching that critical point where we're getting deconstructions and reconstructions and all kinds of like weird shit. Fuck, you could even say like Recreators, right, was like a reverse isekai.
Oh yeah.
Fictional characters came to our world and it was really fucked up and weird. You know,
Yeah.
we're in the playing with it phase.
Mm-hmm.
Mecha's even gone through this. I had a long conversation the other day with Dallas and Axe while we were in the prog lab, because Axe loves to talk about Lancer.
Yeah, it is.
And to work through his problems GMing, well, not even always problems, but work through his discussions GMing it, you know, because he's not always used to GMing. So
Yeah.
talking about the genre and kind of like how the setting and the rules are set up. Dallas got on kind of a point because he's like, I don't know if I'd want to play Lancer because I don't actually like most mecha genres. I prefer giant robots as a metaphor to just giant robot shoot 'em ups. You know, I fall on the firm either end of those two. I like giant robots, period, if it's cool. But like, there have definitely been points where like some mecha shows got too saturated, and I personally think a lot of mecha shows are trying really hard to ape Evangelion way too much. Still, it's been years, guys. It's over. You can't replicate Evangelion.
I don't know.
Evangelion, I think, can replicate Evangelion.
I think it's either Evangelion or just Gundam.
Well, yeah, that or just where there's a million Gundam series, we can be Gundam too. And I mean, you can argue that like Code Geass is probably in that angle.
I don't know. I think probably Code Geass is more on the Evangelion side of things.
Honestly, I think Code Geass is good because it does kind of split the difference. Like, it has very obvious fantastical powers, but also it's got a lot of the robot action you want without ever getting like way too philosophical all the time, you know?
Just some of the time.
Yeah, just some of the time. Some of the time it goes way deep into Lelouch's horrific Byronic hero mope fest. And then he usually gets punched or slapped, or somebody reminds him that he's, you know, leading a fucking revolution. He's gotta find where he dropped his nuts and put him back on, or gets a gun to his head. Actually, he's usually Lelouch is pretty cool with guns to his head.
I mean, he puts one to his own head once.
Yeah, no. I don't know if Mecha's really dead. I do think that it's in kind of a lull period. That's another thing where Mecha definitely hit that oversaturation point, and we just got so much that they kind of pared back. I think the other thing is that, unfortunately, Mecha is one of those things where, for tech reasons and for budgeting reasons, it makes a lot of sense to jump to CG models. But unfortunately, again, because of budget and timing concerns, when you jump to CG models, you often make the robots look kind of shitty. Just throwing that out there.
This is one of the reasons why I think I like Knights of Sidonia, just because it's all fucking just crappy CG models. I'm just like, no, let me just enjoy the story.
Honestly, that's probably why they did it. Like, if you do it all CG, everything's the same art style, so you're not like, why is this robot, like, way higher res, but also way more polygonal than everybody? I don't know, it's probably because we used really expensive computers and really expensive software to render the robot, and then we had a bunch of dudes in a sweatshop somewhere draw the cells of what everybody else looks like. Also, speaking of mecha CG, I'm reminded of one of the reasons why I've never actually got around to watching Akito of the Exiled, the Code Geass OVA, because that's when they switched to all CG Nightmare frames, and it is not great. They are very obvious. By the time they get to the sequel movies, like I watched Lelouch of the Resurrection, I believe those models are all CG most of the time, but they're a lot better because they've gotten a little more sure in their art style. Like, some of them are still pretty obvious, but in general, the action looks a lot smoother because they have time to practice. This is the other weird thing about advances in technology. Your artists have to fucking practice. Not everybody realizes this, but, you know, just like physical shit, people have to practice digital shit, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, we talked about this with Let's Talk FGO and video production. Like, we're not practiced video editors. We know a little bit of what we've had to beg, borrow, and steal to make our way on the internet, but we're not classically trained in it, and we are not practiced. So there's some shit we don't know how to do, and if you held a gun to our head, we could probably turn out something. It would probably be pretty crappy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something you gotta work on it.
Yeah, no.
So, this is something that productions sometimes do forget.
Yeah, no. If you want to see, like, I still think that fucking Land of the Lustrous probably still has some of the best CG I've ever fucking seen. Just pure CG.
I've never actually sat down and watched the show, but I have seen the clips, and it is something. It is poetry in motion.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they also did Beastars, which I won't say it doesn't quite necessarily pop, with the animation, but it's still good and solid. Actually, I wonder who bankrolled Land of the Lustrous. I should find out. It was probably a
Oh,
fucking.
I'm sure, yeah, somebody definitely paid for it. Well, I mean, if you're talking about Solomon is in the upcoming FGO movie, I'm sure it looks good because FGO still has more money than God.
Like I said, it's still being run by oh shit, I'm dumb. I'm getting distracted. I'm missing my mechanics.
How long have you been going? 2.5 hours. All right. Well, we can probably finish our thoughts, and then I've got a little bit to talk about, and not necessarily dive deep in, but I have been doing a little RPG writing for several things because we wrapped up a Star Wars adventure this week. We are almost assuredly going to have a break session in between because you guys have a lot of story decisions to make that I need to work with. Setting stuff, our usual colony management shenanigans. Also, you guys are, I think, still beat to crap. Several of you.
Yep.
You need to get some things fixed. You need to take some time off, get a vacay, maybe build some things, or buy some things now that you've realized you have some problems. We need to hook Loth up with some attachments for some stuff because we realized, once again, the slight flaws of bookkeeping, or alternatively, sometimes we just tell him wrong things and he writes them down and then we never correct them.
Or he doesn't.
We have done that before.
Or he doesn't write them down in the first place.
Well, yeah, it's true. Sometimes people don't write shit down. But basically, we realized that on one of his primary weapons, he's said that he had all 4 of his hard points occupied, and then for the life of us, we can't figure out. I can be reasonably certain that there was an attachment on it because he had an errant case of accurate, but because he did not write down what original attachment it was, and we did not remember, and none of this came up, we literally could not tell where it came from. So we were just like, all right, Loth, lose the accurate, get your hard points back. We don't know where the fuck that came from. It could be anything. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But and it happens with other people. Axe has much better bookkeeping, but has still forgotten. Oh yeah, I do own that. I'm not carrying it on me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I think all the players have done that at some point.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, we did pick that up. I'm sure some point, and I'm not really futzed about it, but it might be relevant for the thing we're gonna do next. Because you guys say you want to go on archaeology adventures again. Somebody mentioned the word Indiana Jones. I honestly think that our current raid is a little more Tomb Raider, maybe a little more Uncharted, but somewhere definitely in that ballpark.
I'm feeling Uncharted.
You may or may not want to remember that one time you guys bought a shitload of camping supplies because you wanted to go camp in the jungle to spy on somebody. You guys remember that? That was an adventure. You guys staked out in the jungle for a couple of days, and you bought a lot of crap to do it, and it's all still, I'm sure, in boxes back at your base, so you may want to dig that back out later. But yeah, so, and speaking of which, so after you finish that, and I'm sure we will not necessarily get into the weeds with it this week, but I do have the initial setup and the first chunk of adventure written. It involves random tables and travel times. It involves jungles. I may have been slightly also influenced by my fond childhood memories of Yonder Amazon Trail. Classic title. But that's what I spent a decent chunk writing, and I did get back to writing some more Gensekai stuff.
Yay!
Did have some time this week because I wasn't going ham on the Lost Belt. I'm not all the way done, but I am a decent chunk through the next section on Dragons and Longu, both the place and the people. I first wrote the initial handful of paragraphs about True Drakes, Dragonkind, breaking down their origin, talking about how fucking huge they are. I think I said this on stream a couple of weeks ago, maybe, or last week. Just, they're big. They're real big. I talk about, they have magical affinity. They have coloration and elemental affinity, so they have different breath weapons. Not quite conforming necessarily to, 100% D&D standards. It's more about elements than it is alignment. Yes, red dragons are fire, but they're not inherently evil, kind of a thing. Got some esoteric colors. Different elemental affinities, stuff like that. The other thing I kind of decided to talk about a little and work out as kind of a neat thing to make sense of, okay, why are, first generation, true dragons, super cool and special, then why do we have, tiny little weenie dragons now?
Weenie.
The idea is basically in the setting, the dragons are made so powerful they're supposed to be kind of like safeguards of all creation, in case horrors from elemental chaos come streaming in, kind of shit.
Sorry, I just want to laugh about this. So I'm doing a quiz right now, and someone else says, "Hey, are you the fabled Kamui Whisperer?" And my options are, "That sounds a bit like me." And my second option is, "I don't know who you are, and you're scaring me."
Oh, dialogue rating for 14 is great. It seems like.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm gonna be like, "That sounds
But
like
yeah,
me."
so the Scions created dragons to kind of be like a final check balance to make sure people and weird abominations from beyond time and space weren't fucking shit up in their lovely little playground they just made. They just built their sand castle.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be real disappointed if a giant space whale of elemental chaos kicked it over.
That'd be bad.
So they make dragons. And dragons are similar to humans. Humane are made with like all 5 elements, just on a larger scale. This means, of course, that much like humans, dragons are just as varied in temperaments, just magnified. So, like, I think I talked about this before. If a dragon is greedy, it's like really greedy, literally wants to like sit on piles of gold greedy. If a dragon is studious, it will like dig a hole and read books for millennia and not come out, kind of a thing, right? So they have super magnified personalities, but because they're so powerful, if they reproduce too rapidly, that kind of power can't be sustained. So the dragonkin they produce go down in power level and intelligence and size until you end up with all the many kinds of dragons that have existed in fiction and stuff. Yay! I run down the list talking about examples. Wyverns are commonly called out because they are actually a mount you can, purchase and train. So wyverns are small enough that they can be ridden by human scale peoples and even, tamed and negotiated with. They have less limbs because true drakes are the full 6-limbed type, wings,
Mm-hmm.
four limbs, tail, etc. There are bipedal lindworms, which are mostly serpentine but do have legs. They're regular worms, which are just serpentine. Lesser drakes without wings, but do possess 4 limbs. And also, I'll need to come up with stats of that because somebody will want to get them. But I talked about dragonettes, which are very, very small dragon. They look exactly like a true drake, but they're about the size, intellect, and general disposition of a house cat.
I
Which
want
means
one.
somebody will. Yeah, I know. Absolutely, people will want those stats. I'll need to make a stat line for that. People will want those.
I want that.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff. I talked about how, because this is also a very commonly reoccurring mythological motif, is like, also dragons are just kind of like, because they're so flexible because of element stuff, they can, do kinds of crossbreeding, experimentation. They can alter their shapes, because the true drakes have arcane magic inherently. That sometimes dragons can just have multiple heads, I guess. That works for them, So hydras can kind of show up out of there and other weird eclectic stuff. And even leave notes that, like, well, depending on how your individual terrain types and environments and things, you can have incredibly unique kinds of dragon stuff. So left the door open that, future GMs can come up with their own weird stuff and say, oh, this is a dragon. Are you sure? It's got a turtle shell in the face of a lion, and it's from the ocean. It's a Terrask type thing. No, it's a dragonkin. Okay. Then talking about how true drakes don't really have a lot of culture. They live on like large territorial ranges. They try to spread out a little. One, because if they reproduce too much, shit gets weird. And also just because they're fucking huge and they need their space, okay? It's an important thing about social distancing. Do you talk a little bit, though, about like their intelligence and spirituality? I throw out some example, true drakes, some big ones. I joked about this before. I did 2 good dragons. So there's the divine dragon, who's really important to the backstory of Longu. Solid guy, great guy. There's also Serpens, the companion of Ophelia, scion of good stuff, which is, a positive one. Then I did some neutral dragons. Lotan, the sea dragon, hangs out in the water. One note that Lucky will want to read and be sure to have thoughts and feelings about. I went with the Greek name Python, though the role is more similar to Ladon. But Ladon has like 100 heads. I decided not to like put any emphasis on that. But Python is the great earth serpent. Guards the Demene, the realm of Verna, scion of the earth.
Yeah, no.
Hugging her trees.
Yeah, no.
Has great wisdom and intelligence, but sometimes if you stumble into the garden, Python will eat you. She's ornery like that. And then 2 evil dragons. One is Frenair, which is a alternate pronunciation or spelling of Fafnir, but it's a great fire drake. That's one of my classic fable type shit. Frenair used to be really cool and stuff, and loved to destroy things and obtain treasures. Responsible for myths of dragons kidnapping maidens, but when the fall happened, he fell in with Ashtaroth, archdemon of vanity. And now, cause she's so pretty, he wanted to possess her, and now he's stuck in hell with her forever. Good job, Dragon Man. And then I absolutely did, in fact, do my tongue-in-cheek writing thing. The final evil dragon is literally Smog, not Smaug, Smog, which is just an evil dragon. No, there are dragons of spirit, but it's not necessarily a void thing. Though, because the elemental chaos is in outer space, that probably does mean that true drakes can be in space. There can be space dragon.
Space dragon!
I don't know what people would do if they went into space, especially because this is a fantasy setting where there's, esoteric heavens and earth type shit, but there's cosmology layers. You could figure it out. No, only the first hour acts. Our middle hour was about other video games. Well, actually, no, I did about a half hour on video games for me, and then we spent about an hour talking about TV and animation and stuff. And then we've been going back and forth with Lucky yelling at Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And also just randomly talking about, like, adaptation and writing and stuff. And I figured I would lead us to the wrap-up, because I know Lucky's been doing lots of stuff, and just round out with some gaming topics. I already mentioned I'm working on a next adventure for Star Wars. Yeah, I just mentioned it. We're working on it. I mentioned that I feel very this is very vaguely Uncharted, or perhaps Tomb Raidery. But I was just talking about I did do some work on Jinsekai. I'm basically at the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages so far are on the actual history and biology of the Longu race that you can pick.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about kind of like how they came about, because I went with an interesting, metaphysical source here. Because the Scions made dragons and humans in a similar way, they can interbreed.
Oh, interesting.
Also because dragons can take on, they've got inherent magic, so they can shapeshift into humans.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to do the Skitty Wailord egg group thing. True drakes are inherent shapeshifters. And basically, there was a land in the Far East which had very, ancient China vibes, made up of a lot of little states and provinces with their own little leaders, had a lot of emphasis on bureaucracy and philosophy. They call themselves the people of silk and ink. So, they had a lot of writing, a lot of high crafts and stuff, governed by a lot of things, had a lot of small conflict, but not really conquest. I brought up the joke where, there was a great queen of a land, the great East City, called Hinoko, like Himiko, but funnier, more of a pun. And the divine dragon met that lady, who was the devout follower of the Sun Scion, Chryso, and then they were like, I threw in some romance in there. He showed up to her court in the shape of a human dude and hang out with her. And then later he was like, actually, babe, I'm totally a super powerful giant dragon. And she was like, cool. And then they had kids, and that created half dragons, which I do actually point out. Technically, being an actual like half dragon state is different than the Longu. The Longu people have just interbred with humans and dragonkin and etc. So long they have a self-sustaining population. If you were a full-blown half-dragon, like literally one of your parents was a dragon, you would have extra features like the full-blown wings and definitely have inherent magical potential. I don't know if I'm going to include that as a possible archetype stat line. That might require a lot of XP shifting, because shit like gliding and free magic skill points is probably pretty expensive.
Honestly, it sounds like it'd be some sort of weird fucking, like, class tree or something. I don't know.
I mean, it could. That is one of the monk trees. Does have, like, the Breath of the Dragon thing going on. I could probably do it, like, as a weird specialty. That is a thought for, like, if I was to do another round of universal specializations as a bonus, they would be race-specific.
Mm-hmm.
but it's pretty rare, because dragons are very long lived. They're like elves. They're functionally immortal. But they do have secret weaknesses in their cores, their hearts of great magic. You stab the heart, dragon dies. Uh, but the fact that the Divine Dragon set up shop in the Far East and had some half dragon kids kind of, dropped in everything. I mean, that does have very isekai vibes, right? Where you're like, wait, I can cheat. Can I just be like half dragon?
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the kind of thing where that gets into kind of the snowflakeism of players as well as player characters. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to figure out what the stat line on that is. Like you said, that could be a Spectre or something later, giving an interesting array of abilities. So I talk about the actual, biology. Longu are very draconic, but their features are kind of limited. They've gotten down to they have two features that are always present. They always have horns, which can vary from like little tiny baby horns to like, big horns curling or straight or whatever, or even antler type horns. Eastern dragon stuff. And they always have tails. So the exact shape and nature of the tail can be different depending on what their various bloodlines are. And Longu usually have patches of scales on their body. It might be like hands, feet. It could be, like across the cheek or something. Or it could be like chest and neck kind of a thing. Sloth, slightly scratchy scales you should be careful of. Regular oiling, or they get rough and can damage things, like your clothing. Longu do have a dragon pearl, a core in their body of magical energy that gives them dragon breath. And this is actually something I clarified. I realized this wasn't explicitly said in the rule, where you can pick if it's stun damage when you make the attack, because Longu have the inherent breath weapon. So yes, the breath weapon thing is variable. Some of them, most of them breathe fire, but this could be ice or lightning or other exotic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's resilience based. It's resilience, and it's got like slow fire too, but it's pretty sick considering it's a natural weapon you can never be rid of. It does take you 3 strain to do, so it's potent, I think, for the balance effect. And you never know. In playtesting, this might get relaxed a little. What is it? It's Dam 6, Crit 4, Short Range, Blast 3, Burn 1. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a starting weapon. And then you can choose if this is stun damage before making. Well, also, I mean, it's blast. So if you've got a crowd of unarmed skeletons and you just puke lightning at them, it can be an effective method. Also, Longu, the race generally have slit pupils. This makes their irises look larger, but I'm not explicitly saying they have Animu Gugu eyes. But if their eyes look bigger, it's because they have slit pupils. Duh. No, you cannot improve the base damage. That could be like that would be a thing that if I did a Spectre, but no, it's just a natural weapon you always have. It's like how Beastmen get access to a natural brawl weapon, which is just like damage +1. It's pretty common in this kind of stuff. The way you would improve the scaling is you just get better at ranged attacks and get better at your resilient skill,
Yeah.
Axe, you should know from Star Wars, if you just roll 7 successes on every attack, you do more damage. But yeah, that's the kind of left on biology. We talk about kind of in here somewhere, talking about kind of like their well, yeah, coloration is also another big deal, obviously, because well, one, they're from the Eastern land, the fantasy Asia, but also just because dragons, they have their skin tends to be kind of pale and human-y tone. But they can have varying wildly hair and eye colors, because dragons.
Dragons.
I talk about like age range. They age a little slower than humans, but not as full blown as elves. Like Longu takes a full like 20 to 25 years to reach full physical and mental maturity, but they can live longer. Like easily most Longu live 100 to 200 years, with those who have close ancestry of the true drakes living to up of like 500 years. They can be very long-lived. The current Dragon Empress in Longu has been around for several hundred years, since, I think I said since around the fall. I did not specify a date, because there is no date system in this, and I want to keep it that way. Because calendars will fuck you. You have to keep track of shit. Fuck that. Nah. Vagaries. You don't need to know. She's been there a long time. She has 108 kids. People are saying she should retire. On the other hand, if there's 108 imperial princes and princesses, that means adventurers can score a princess. It's great. Thumbs up.
I will totally score a princess.
The plot writes itself, guys. And this is the thing I brought up earlier, but this has been in there since the beginning. But I talk about the fact that because that's how it is in dragons, female Longu are slightly taller and heavier than the males. Not a lot. Sometimes the males look maybe a little thin compared to the female Longu, and the birth rate slightly favors females. But because they're part dragon, it's not like there's any significant physical capability difference. It's just, a slight cultural thing, and it means there are big dragon girls.
Yeah!
I know what I'm about. I don't know what you're about, audience.
I know what I'm about. I'm excited for this.
Then we talk about kind of history, talking about like how their tech base evolved differently, talking about language and stuff. Should I? I might want to go back and insert a paragraph on the naming convention and stuff. I talk about like, once again borrowing from kind of the Japan angle, but also including the fact that ancient China loved gunpowder. So the dragon dust, as it's called, is a huge centerpiece of military science in Longu. Basically, they did not have a lot of super great mineral wealth, so this means they usually have to do, like in Japan, they have to extract iron from iron sand to make steel, which means the forging process is really, really long and drawn out and requires a lot of skill.
Mm-hmm.
This means that the blades are very high quality. So no, like, because the iron was bad, the swords are bad kind of a thing. This is a meme you hear sometimes about the katana. The katana craftsmanship, when it's actually like properly crafted, is usually quite good. They can be quite resilient swords, very impressive, but it requires a lot of fucking time and work. So, like high levels of steel armor and steel blades are only reserved for the warrior caste of the nobles, bushi, samurai. And then everybody else uses either small blades, arrowheads, spear tips, which can even be made with stone, or they use blunt weapons, hammer, staves, clubs, exotic shit like the tonfa. I even bring up that it's not universal, but at times and periods, commoners can't carry swords at all, which also means that there's a lot of propagation of martial arts, very, very common as well in Eastern stories and Eastern history. But because they have lots of lead and they have lots of gunpowder, dragon dust, they love fire lances, arquebuses, etc. They learned a lot about cavalry from that time they fought the Khan of Katai. That's the only time they've had their asses invaded by anybody. Was the actual original Khan rolled across the entire desert and was like, "Sup?
This your land?"
He found a lot of very, very angry dragon people with guns.
They probably did not turn out quite like how he expected.
No, he did not successfully invade Longu, and in fact, he and a lot of his dudes died in the desert. There's actually a haunted battlefield in the desert now.
Oh, wow.
Where it is not recommended. Yeah, it's in the lore. It's not recommended you hang out on this battlefield at night because it's, according to legend, the ghosts of the two armies will make their old bones get up and fight out the battle again. So watch out. Because I love tiny lore drops like that. I love to just be like, oh yeah, there's a haunted section of the desert where the fighters of this old army will just get up and fight each other again. Spooky bones. Rattle me bones. But this taught them a lot about cavalry, so they, that involves, because remember, you think samurai are all about the katana, but it's actually, they're all about the cavalry, the horse archery.
The bow. So, it's that bow, yo.
Yeah. They learned a lot about that, and I think I haven't got that far. One of the special items will absolutely be Hamaya, sacred arrows.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some of those.
Make demons feel bad about their lives. Probably, I've done some stat lines for like silvered weapons and stuff. It'll probably be something like get like accurate one, vicious one when you're attacking a demon or evil spirit. Cool. But if you get the out of ammo result, you have to buy the upgrade again. Oh, actually, I did when thinking about this because I remembered I talked about an emphasis on silk. I did make that an armor attachment is silk weave, like adding real silk. Gives you +1 melee defense and removes a black die from stealth and coordination checks
Neat.
because it makes your armor lighter weight and fit better, and also be better at blades. Yeah, HP 1, which means it does actually fit on the Longu style armor, the Lamellar, which is the the Yoroi style armor, as well as a lot of other light armors. And it explicitly has to go on light armor. You can't turn plate mail into silk weave because it's plates, duh. But it gives you some extra melee protection, and like I said, it makes you a little lighter on your feet, which is good if you want to be sneaky and also not die. Yeah, Lamel, I was kind slash what's the right word? Slightly favoring to the Lamellar because it's 1 defense, 1 soak, but it's got 3 hard points. So yeah, you can do a lot with that.
Actually,
that also though talked about the war with Katai means they closed their border for a long time.
Yeah, isolation.
They've opened up because that'll be a thing that comes back later. But yeah, talk about the history, the rulership, kind of how things are organized. Talk about how their noble class is kind of different. There's not really like a super heavy level of formal ranking among normal peerage, because like there were like ranks and titles obviously in various periods of ancient Japan, but for the general like samurai class, it was mostly just, hey, I'm samurai, you samurai, that guy's the lord of this holding. It was a lot about like what your holdings were and what clan you were from that did your prestige, not necessarily being like, oh, you're you have a big fancy title. So kind of like talk about that. The primary classes are Bushi and then bureaucrats, stealing a little from L5R with the courtier split, but I call them bureaucrats because I also want to throw in some of that, some of that ancient Chinese energy. It's a big sprawling empire. There's a lot of different provinces and stuff. There's a lot of bureaucrats. And I note that the Eastern branch of the Adventurers Guild has slotted nicely into the bureaucracy apparatus. They just inserted themselves into there with no problem.
It's like just Solomon died here.
Inspired by the fact that there was a historical department of Onmyoji, the Empire of Longu does have a department of magic. If you wanted to set a campaign over there or interact with that, you could use that as a very interesting kind of reason for why, say, certain magical characters are all gathered up together. Because they will train arcane talents, but they will also, select primal and divine casters for government positions when they need to. As well as work with a lot of stuff. I also talk about how verse magic bardic magic is a recent import, and its original form is a little too emotional. This is the thing I do talk about a lot. The outward appearance of both dragons and the Longu is often you should be with your personal space, you should be inwardly focused and stoic, but with your expression, you should be creative and emotional. So, like, you should not necessarily be casually busting out and laughing or yelling when you can, breathe fire, and all our buildings are made of wood. Flammable wood. But if you want to turn that into some sick, beat poetry or a cool Sumai ink painting or some slick swordsmanship, that's you should turn your emotions into constructive and artistic pursuits. And not focus on, like, just yelling about them and stuff. This is why Longu are, like, 3 willpower, 1 presence. They're not really good at like social interacting outside of rigid context, but they have a lot of internal willpower and focus. And that's basically where this thing ends right now. I am currently in the middle of the bulleted list where I give some example provinces and palaces you can go to. I've already recontextualized the ones that were already in the geography section, like the Golden Carp Palace is a big market town that's at the end of the Spice Road. I talk about the Golden Unlucky Garden Palace. Which is run by Panda Beastman, the source of the best chefs in the region.
Well, that's another fucking pit stomp for fucking Porter.
Yeah, probably not right away in playtest games, but I will probably, because I'll have to make stat lines for some of this shit. I'll probably have to come up with an excuse for you guys to cross the desert or something at some point. Desert. Also, obviously, the capital of Longu is the Imperial City, in which is the Forbidden Palace, which has 7 floors and over 100 rooms and closets and shit. It's super cool. It's great, guys. And that's kind of where I ended. So I've got probably not too much longer to write to finish this up. I need to like finish off my example places with a couple of ideas. I'm thinking like 3 or 4 more, round that out. With just some interesting example places for more plot hook stuff. Plot hooks are important.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably round out with like some more modern history, and I may go back and, like I said, reinsert paragraphs that I write later into earlier points where they make more sense in the reading. Because like I realized just now that I'm like, oh, I talked about like language and culture and stuff, and I completely skipped what I usually like to do, which is talk about names. Because player characters have to name their characters. Players have to name characters, and GMs have to name characters. It helps if you have a system for what people should be called, so you don't accidentally insert a Steve in a world of Stonson.
Aerith and Bob.
Yeah. TV trope, Aerith and Bob. You got to watch your names, so you got to have stuff that makes sense. And obviously, being outsiders, players might have weird names that don't make any sense. You could say that you're John Johnson, former salaryman, and people would be like, "That's kind of a plain name."
Mm-hmm.
Or you could have absolutely fantastical, appropriate names, especially if you're raised from birth.
Well, Porter is raised from birth.
By the way, buddy, I'm going to throw this out there. You've definitely influenced how I'm going to talk about pork name conventions. Because you called yourself Porter. I'm like, okay, I have to make this make sense in the lore, because Lucky's already done it.
I'm about to say, it's like, if you want me to change, it can, but if you have an idea of what you want to do.
No, I think I can spin that. The idea is going to be that because they are not titans of intellect, pork prefers simple names, which usually reflect, like, jobs and careers, or simple verbs, or are their own dialect of other names. Like, where a humane society might write a name John, pork might just go John with no H. Just John. Sometimes just Joe. Forget the N. You don't need the N. You're just Joe. So it'll be a blend of either they pick probably, firm sounding occupational names. No, I think we talked about this. Drawing from the way names are formatted in Japanese and Chinese characters, Skystride is probably a translation of your surname if you're actually from Longu, your character, which I'm sure I'll get into when I write that paragraph. After that, we'll do the various special implements, and we'll do NPC lines. I did actually finish off the last 2 humane ones, the Pirate Captain and Rich Noble NPC block. Those are both Nemesis blocks. I had some fun. I've been having a lot of fun. I have been designing actually a couple of Star Wars adversaries using the design goals from Genesis' Expanded Player's Guide.
Oh, okay.
It makes them quite well-rounded, I think, without going too ham, that, and just the fact that I will say, once again, editing, the Expanded Player's Guide doesn't understand what intellect and cunning should be. They far often get those two flipped. There's a lot of characters of, like, animals or people who are, like, supposed to be, like, cunning or perceptive, which are like intellect 2 or 3 and cunning 1 or 2, and I'm like, flip those. I'll flip them. I'll flip it myself. I'll fix it.
Like, I got this.
I don't know why you think animals need like intellect 2 but only cunning 1. That's not how their skill sets work, guys. Is a space wolf gonna be casting magic? What's going on here? But I had a decent amount of fun kind of designing them, like the noble stat line, for instance, is like entirely a social conflict character. They've got like 14 wounds and no extra soak or anything. So they're only like soak 2 for their 2 brawn, but they have like 23 strain threshold as a nemesis, and a lot of special social abilities. Just as kind of because Genesis went a lot more ham on using the social conflict rules.
Yeah.
Because they were built in from the start. Whereas in Star Wars, they were kind of tacked on at the end, and it doesn't always work because there are a lot of talents that interact with your strain threshold and stuff, which can get a little weird in social context. I mean, if you're going to socially conflict, you could also just boot people's snoot, Though if we are, that will be if he also shows up, because we don't know when or where we're playtesting. I know, because this is actually the next thing I want to bring up. Dallas did talk about how he might want to join as a troubadour, as a bard, and he actually, he will not necessarily be a face. He will have the skill basis to go into it, I think. But he actually talked to me and made me realize something pre-playtest that I actually wanted to catch. He was like, I'm probably going to have to multi-class because I understand why it's that way, but I've noticed that there aren't a lot of combat skill options for troubadours, and they can't really pick up ranged. And I'm like, oh yeah, should I fix that? So I actually I edited the Gambler spec. They had Vigilance originally, along with Charm, Cool, and Deception, and I swapped Vigilance for range. One, so you can't get both initiative skills in one spec. That might be a little too good.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
But also, I mean, their only other way to pick up a combat skill in the original spec trees is the core class, the core career gets melee light, and that's it. And I'm like, no, it definitely doesn't, like, Bard should be able to, like, shoot bows and throw stuff at people.
Yeah.
Especially considering the Gambler specialization has in its first rank of talents is Panache, which lets you swap presence instead of brawn or agility when making ranged light or ranged and melee light checks. And I'm like, oh, that does not synergize. So I was like, okay, I can fix that. That's an easy fix. That's not a huge loss.
Yeah.
To give you a combat skill for a utility skill.
Nice.
And this is why multiple eyes and playtests are needed, you know, like figuring out shit. You need these kind of advice for you to go, oh yeah, that is a thing I wrote into the rules but did not necessarily mean to be true, you know?
Yeah.
So that'll be a purpose to playtesting. But other than that, that's only, you know, I will admit there were a couple of times when I could have sat down and done even more writing, but like I said, I, you know, have been on a little bit of a losing streak with the progression lately. I have been in the lab a lot this week, spreadsheets, etc., hanging out with people. I do occasionally, like, this conversation with Dallas about rebalancing some of the career skills for the Troubadour came in the middle of us testing progression decks. So it worked out, but it definitely means I can't sit down and write long form. Hopefully next week should be okay, especially because I'll have my free day on Thursday because I do have more to write in the adventure, I guess, but we'll have to see how my time strings out. Because I'm doing my one of my classic 3-act structures for the next Star Wars thing. Act 1 is done along with the setup.
Oh, okay.
And I gotta write the next bit, though I know roughly what I want to do with that, and then I'm fairly certain what I want to be the beats for the third part. You guys are gonna buckle in and make sure to pack supplies and stuff. This will not necessarily, like, it's us. I have absolutely no fucking idea how, because I've written like little vignettes and little hooks, you know. You guys might stumble on a jungle murder mystery and decide to stop for 3 sessions to solve it. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. But I know how you guys are. You guys will sometimes grab onto the little things I throw in as flavor, and I'm perfectly okay with it. But narrative time-wise, this may be a thing that takes several days, and you need to take some breaks.
Very well.
Some of the later segments may get a little... not quite dungeon crawly, but definitely like extended adventuring periods without necessarily having an easy time to restock. But we can preface all that when we actually talk about the setup stuff, because like I said, I wrote the initial setup and then I wrote my first bit, you know, the other day. God bless, you know, musical inspiration. That and just getting the right... Like, I don't know why all of a sudden I thought of Amazon Trail, but I was like, yeah, Amazon Trail. I played that. That's got a lot of fun stuff. You like fish, you go in the jungle, you meet people in interesting different, like, locations and landmarks. I could do something kind of like that. Since Axe is here, I can talk about how, because I know his character has Swift, I was able to average out the travel times. Like, I was like, okay, you guys might hike overland, and you might also take a boat, I guess, or something. I'll just make those two the same time and assume that because Camo has outdoorsman and has travel times, they're just the same time. It's fine. It's all about what method you prefer. But yeah, I've got the old writing. Do some. But we have been going for over 3 hours. Lucky flew on a fiery fox earlier. I caught it on the preview.
Yep.
Also, that Swift will definitely come into play because jungles are difficult terrain, guys. If not outright impassable. I should use. I realize I should use the impassable terrain rule more because it's not literally impassable. It's just impassable terrain per the rules is you need to make a check to cross it if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I can work with that.
Behold, chest high wall. No. I mean, it's like, look, they're walls. Just boom.
Probably you will be in the jungle. It was definitely because to talk a little about the session that passed. I think that was okay. There was some frustration on a couple of ends from a couple of things. Like, it all worked out, and I think everybody enjoyed it in the end. The dice were fucking weird to us again, though.
Yeah, they were.
Like, you did actually lock down in a one-on-one versus the boss, who was designed to kind of complement and foil your skill set as a player character. But then the dice got really weird, and you guys kind of just did a slap fight for a couple of turns.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to get some tangential stuff so you couldn't, like, run away and regroup or just be like, I'm done with this, please shoot this crazy lady.
Mm-hmm.
But also, we weren't, like, landing blows or anything, so it just kind of, it got a little awkward and repetitive, and I was just like, dice, can you just do something slightly different for once? And the dice were like, no.
This is our life now.
And, like, I even think, like, I expressed frustration early because Axe did the thing he does occasionally where he jumped in, and I talked about him this when I had that great big conversation about gameplay stuff with him in Dallas, where it was like, I mean, I get what you're saying, Axe. You say you only wanted to debuff him, but this is the thing I talk about with everything in game design. Don't roll dice unless you know what's going to happen and you're okay with it. Just because you can also debuff a man, if you roll dice to hit him, you might do a fuck ton of damage because that's how the system works and how your character is built. That's just what happens. So, you know, I'm not really, like, now I'm not really upset. You know, he was just doing stuff with his character. It's what's on his character sheet. If he was to do something different, he would have to retrain a lot of shit. Especially considering, I think, Axe, how many Spectres do you have? Is it only, like, is it 3 or 4? Most of them are combat focused, if not all of them. All right, he's saying 4 to 5. It's probably 4 then. I don't know if he's gotten his 5th yet. But, like, it would be a big paradigm shift for him to get less shooty.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just kind of like an early thing, like, okay, all right, well, I've put mooks in this fight for you to fight, and you insist on fighting the boss. That's okay. The boss walked up to him and thrashed him real good and fucked off. We did a little bit of a rocket tag moment where it was like, okay, you bonked me pretty good. I'm going to bonk you. Now I'm going to leave and fight that. And that'll be pretty fun. That's obviously modding can get pretty combat intense, but also it has a lot of just funny stuff for just general use. Utility Spectres are fun. But yeah, like, and then even like I expressed a little bit of frustration at Marth later because he developed a tactic where he can be like, oh, I can jump away for free and then use my special re-engage attack to save action economy and be really scary. And I'm like, okay, I'll block. All right, cool. I mean, I think those two characters had a decent back and forth, like trying to strike each other, doing stuff. It ended with a dude getting his arm cut off. Star Wars classic, you know.
Fell out the funicular.
Yeah, most of it works out okay. By the way, that guy is absolutely coming back with a robot hook hand later.
As he should.
I mean, that's just what you do, you know? Yeah, like, I think in general it worked out. We had some fun times. Like, we did actually do some decent back and forth with the mooks. And even if they weren't threatening all the time, and they were still threatening a decent number of the time, because I designed those guys to be like, all right, you guys are pretty punchy. I expect some of the encounters, not necessarily any bosses, but some of the encounters in the upcoming adventure will probably be a little more neutral and a little less trying to be serious threats, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were invading a military base. I did want to make sure it had punch.
Yeah, that's something I do think, like, is okay to do, because people are always talking about escalation, you know, in your games and whatnot, and conflict and stuff. You know, you should always be challenging the players, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that thought. Sometimes you should just let your players feel fucking powerful for once.
Well, and it really depends on if you're taking a more narrative or more gamist stance, I think, because if you're purely about mechanical, like, angling, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you should probably do fights that increase with the level, like how a video game does it.
Yeah.
But you can also do like a narrative does and have rising and falling action. You can have arcs. We can have, our last arc was honestly overall pretty tense and actually, like, pretty injurious. You guys got beat to crap a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
We did also acquiesce to the rule that I realized I should have been adopting anyway, but I managed to speak it out loud where, hey, maybe humanoid bosses should just be carrying stim packs just in case.
And honestly, all of us were like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Like, all right, I'll just do that. I'll remember that now. I think that's a fair unspoken rule because you can only use 5 per day. What am I gonna do? Make an NPC with ranks and stim pack specialization so they can get more heals? maybe.
No, no, I know. I think the better idea is no. You're just gonna start putting medics in the fucking mooks.
Actually, no. The better idea is to put dedicated to do that game trope, right, and put dedicated healers among the enemies. That will be fun. I can throw some weird doctors.
No, I think that's actually fair.
And because there are support, there is the it's not called. It's like stim specialist or something. It's a very badly named talent, but there is the stim application. There's a buff talent that's medical based that could be pretty funny to throw in certain fights. Also, I feel like some of our, well, actually, that's the question I'm about to bring up. Some of the characters, and clearly not Camo. That makes sense though. Camo's your gritty special forces guy. He probably doesn't care about shooting non-combatants. But I was gonna think some of the characters will actually have a problem with beating up a medic.
Yeah.
I think the Jedi especially, and Wevu most of all. Arma would probably hesitate to punch a doctor, but the moment that doctor fixes somebody who punches her in the face, she's gonna be like, "All right, enough of you."
I mean, there's non-lethal methods.
Yeah. Hell, that's actually how it worked out for us. When I started actually doing stuff to you, I switched to stun damage because you've been dodging a lot, and I was like, "Oh, this boss can take you out by immobilizing you."
Yeah.
And I think it worked for the drama. It was like, "Oh, that's how that works." Well, I'm gonna pass out.
Yeah,
Punched
no.
her really good before she made you pass out, though.
Yeah, no. I basically threw everything into one last punch, but it wasn't enough.
Not quite. I think she had 3 or 4 wounds left.
Yeah.
It was pretty close. You definitely gave her something to think about. She's gonna have a black eye tomorrow. There's a reason why I spent a dark side point for her to basically be like, "Bye, smoke bomb."
Well, no, no. I liked what we did. It was just the moment the other funicular passes by, and we're like.
She just jumped on it. She made sure to shoot you with the whipcord first, so you were in danger because you passed out, and then be like, "Bye, nerds." They will probably come back. There is some funny stuff in there, and I might readjust the stat blocks for different things. Like I said, Axe did kind of generate some frustration early with going ahead and attacking the one boss who wasn't necessarily meant to size up with him, obviously, because character design and stuff. And it turned into a little bit of a scary fight, some of which wasn't his fault. He did choose to crit, but it's only 10% chance, 8% chance for overwhelmed. It happens a lot, but it shouldn't.
I do it a lot because I can pick it.
Yeah, you can pick it. Sometimes it's just the dice are fine. Like we said, the dice were weird last time. But honestly, I know it's because you project a certain amount of intimidation in real life, Lucky, but that does not necessarily stop the characters all the time.
No.
But for the most part, everybody was pretty nice and did not interfere with either of our 2 little honor duel type stuff. We all got the message in and out of character to be like, okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, you shot that guy in the face 3 times and he died, and I was like, okay, well, I guess this is how shit is.
Yeah.
That was a very different time, both for the way your character was built and role playing. It was like, I'm the sniper spec forces guy. Why shouldn't I try to cut the head off the snake? Now that everybody is decently good at combat, it's kind of a question of well, okay, maybe we wanted to fight and do cool stuff too. And some of that is me as designing the conflicts. I need to make sure that we can weave in and out where different people can have different focus. This time I designed 2 bosses to specifically mano-y-mano the 2 Jedi because you have very distinct combat styles, which can be quite spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I designed that lady stat block to exactly have, okay, she's gonna have parry, she's gonna have 1 soak left over when Arama punches her because your punches are bullshit.
Yes, they are.
And then we will focus on parrying and locking people down so they can't get away. I did have I actually wrote some special abilities to punish the gang up. She had multiple opponents and a special ability called Roundhouse where she could have spent a triumph to hit everybody with her attack. So if multiple people tried to gang up on her, she could do the punish. But that wasn't necessary, I gave her and a lot of the other characters some weird weapons and stuff to give them some different flexibility, because that's the thing. I never know exactly when I wrote those characters. I didn't know exactly where in the base you would fight them. That could have been a triple boss fight. I decided not to go that ham because you guys fought the other boss fight who did actually decently compete with the 2 clone troopers, the Super Tac droid with his flying and 2 guns.
Mm-hmm.
did some decent damage, got some decent back and forth. So that I think talking about like much like rising and falling action, like you need periods where you're just like, oh yeah, you guys are used to this, you know, you can do this pretty easy. Like honestly, I think that was the snipe slug fight before you guys went into the base, you know. That was just, oh, these are literal wild sea creatures. Yeah, if they hit us, they can probably fuck us up, but other than the one time they got a surprise attack, they're not that likely to hit us, and we could beat them up pretty good.
Yeah.
You know. Hell, you would have just fucking left and not considered them a threat if I hadn't rolled dice and they had been bad.
Yeah.
Oh no, I broke returning on my engine. Shit. So I think that much like that kind of curve stuff, you need to put in different curves of like favoring different people and things. Like who knows? Maybe I can put some. Well, he doesn't always carry a sniper rifle. I would probably have to telegraph if I put in a sniper duel for some. I did vaguely try to set up a shootout duel, but you guys ended up liking some of the characters who do the shootouts, and it worked for the narrative concept. This is what happens when you write open-ended shit. Well, you probably should because you're going to be in the field. I just don't know, like I said, if I can work it in now, but I should work it in the future. But anyway, we've crossed 3:30. We got a lot of space. We got a lot of fun stuff we talked about. We talked about video games. We talked about anime and TV and stuff. I once again lament that I need to watch more stuff, but also I need to write so much stuff, so I'm busy, okay?
You busy.
Get to it. Oh. And, you know, we'll see what time I have for what stuff next week. So we will see you next time for What's Up, I think. Go ahead, wind it down. Sorry, stretching. It's been a while.
Been here a minute.
Yeah. If we're okay to do it, let's just do the full outro.
Go for it.
All right. Well, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like. I see 14 people watching currently and only 6 likes. Dare you?
How dare.
Double shout out, though, to the 2 people who liked this video before it was live. I remember you. You're great.
Heart.
You're a real hero, Charlie Brown. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can always get our videos. We are actually, once again, climbing back up the sub counts. We sorted all that stuff out. The dip happened, and now it's going away. We're back up to where we were. We are at 2,995. So with 5 more subs, we can hit 3K, and it will be great. Do it. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. I don't care. Just get subs. But of course, you can also hit that bell for notifications, even if you're already subscribed to the channel. And always know when we post a new video, or when we start a stream like What's Up, streamed every Saturday at approximately 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, roughly. We're pretty good at scheduling. We try. You also, you know, get to see when I stream Mondays. Stay tuned for that Among Us Chaos stream. I'm sure it will be crazy. I may have to call it early, and because I'm going to be tired of dealing with 14 other people. But you never know, you know? Maybe it'll be funnier. We can try. We can definitely do 3 imposters with that many people. Shit, can you go to more imposters with a 15-person lobby? Would that be... They can't go to 4, right? That would be nuts. 4 imposters?
Nah, I think it's still 3, but the thing is, I think
we're still going to be pretty freaky with 15 people. That's a lot.
Yeah, because like, as we said, we always said, like, 3 was too fucking much. With 10.
Even for 10, 3 is a lot. Like, that's a fact. Okay, it is just 3. All right, 3 with 15, that's going to be pretty fun. We're going to have to try that if we get enough people in for the full 15. And I don't know, maybe I'd, with as low as, like, 12 or 13 people, I'd go for 3, you know?
Yeah.
But the problem with when the max lobby size was, like, 10 and 3 is that that's just, you go 2 rounds without catching everybody, and it's over, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, well, we'll see about that. Make sure to hit the bell for notifications so you know when that stream will be and when it goes live. You can also join our channel membership to get access to fun emotes you can use during the stream or in your comments, which you can also leave down below. You can join our Discord as well, where we talk about stuff and where I will be doing the VC, the voice channel for that Among Us. Oh, that's a terrible shame. Apparently you can't super chat with those unless they don't show up. But I appreciate the attempt, Carlos. Thank you for the super chat.
Super appreciate you, Carlos.
But yeah, you can be a member. You get a cool highlight on your name, and you get a badge that's not translucent. Don't worry, we'll fix that sometime.
Eventually, when I'm not sick.
Like I said, one of us will eventually get annoyed enough to fix it. Not yet, but soon.
Soon.
I'm staring at it. It bothers me. It's my fault, and it still bothers me. But also, like we said at the front, you can support us on Patreon, get access to audio formats of our episodes for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year, or get access to videos early, listen to all of our shows that go live, not just when we stream them. Lots of other fun stuff. It's great. And with that, the show is over. So, the fat lady singing. Let's go home.
Yeah. Later, y'all.